Good evening, everybody. Can we start the meeting, please? Okay. Right. Thank you. I declare the meeting of the City Council open. This hybrid meeting. Bill, you all right? Okay. Is he really? Right. Okay. We'll start again, shall we? Right. I declare the meeting of the City Council open. This hybrid meeting is being conducted on a multi-location basis in accordance with the Local Government and Elections Act, Wales. An arrangement for multi-location meetings agreed by the Council, which will operate alongside the Council's standing orders to ensure that we continue and take a democratic decision in an open and transparent manner. Please note that today's meeting is being filmed for live and subsequent broadcast by way of the Council's internet site. The images and sound recordings may also be used for training purposes within the Council. As you will see from the agenda papers, generally the public seating area is not filmed. However, by entering the meeting room and using the public seating area, you are consenting to being filmed and to the possible use of those images and sound recordings for webcasting and training purposes. As well as being broadcast live, a recorded version will be available on the Council's website about 24 hours after the meeting. With those members present in the Council chamber, please use their microphones to contribute to the meeting, and please remember to speak clearly into the microphone and to switch off your microphone when you have finished. Can I request that for those attending the meeting remotely, can I request for you all to switch off your cameras and mute your microphones when you are not speaking to ensure that there is no unnecessary background noise, and to help with the audio and visual quality of the broadcast. The Council's standing orders and code of conduct will apply at all times during this hybrid meeting in the same way as ordinary meetings, and members should conduct themselves accordingly. Members joining remotely are reminded that the use of the online chat function during the meeting is not permitted. For the benefit of everyone watching on the live stream, when I invite members to cast their votes remotely on the particular item, they will do so by raising their hands with their camera switch on so they can see it visible for the duration of the vote. There will be a pause. Once the votes have been counted, please do not switch off your camera until I ask you to do so, as this will make it difficult to count the votes. For those members present in the Council chamber, the vote will be the same way by a show of hands. Welsh translation of the procedures can be provided on request. I move now on to item 1, apologies. I have 3 apologies. One from Councillor Paul Bright, Councillor Rhian Howells and Councillor Alex Pym. Declarations of interest? No?
Chair, could I just register a declaration of interest with regards to the business rates vote, please?
Right. Okay, thank you. That's noted.
Thank you.
Right, on PM's announcements, I'd like to welcome a new councillor to the chamber, Councillor Nick Portman, and I think he'll be introduced by the leader of the Conservative League. Welcome. Welcome. Thank you very much. The other thing I'd just like to say, obviously, because of the heat and temperature outside, and possibly a lot of the hot air that might be in here this evening as well, members, if they want to take their jackets, more than welcome. Okay? Thank you very much. I move on now to the minutes of the previous meeting for the 19th of May 2026. Is there a proposer? Leader?
Happy to propose, Chair.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Thank you very much. All those for? Any against? No, there's no abstentions. I can't see. Right, thank you. That's carried. I move on now to item 3, council appointments. Councillor Spencer.
Excuse me. Yes, appointments are as they are in the agenda. However, I do have a couple of things to add. Councillor Kamal Townsend, LEA Governor for Maindy Primary and Newport Nursery School Partnerships, so should be going on that, and a Stephanie Harborne to replace Daniel Minty as LEA Governor at Ysgol Cymraeg Bro Trenol. Thank you.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Right, thank you very much. All those agree? 4? Any against? There's no abstention, so that's carried. Thank you very much indeed.
Excuse me, Chair.
Sorry?
Excuse me, Chair. Is it possible, I know it might be at the turn, but because I know 2 of the schools now in Betters have actually closed, can I give my thanks to all the governing body members of the both schools, because the schools are now closed. Much appreciation of all their efforts they put into these 2 schools, please. And can I note that, please, on record?
I think that's noted, and I'm sure the Cabinet Member for Education will take that on board as well and maybe support that letter. Okay, thank you very much indeed. Right, we move on now to police matters, or police issues. Can I welcome Councillor Jones? I think it's the first time we've been here, is it? Oh, Councillor, I said, did I? Sorry, right, I introduced you new Councillor. It's the hot weather, I told you there's such a problem in here. Superintendent Jones, over to you.
Brilliant, thank you, Chair. Good afternoon to everyone here. Just by way of introduction, I'm Esther Jones. I'm relatively new Superintendent to Gwent Police. I haven't been here now for some 7 weeks. But in that 7 weeks, I think it's been clear to see the challenges that we've had operationally right across Newport, with a number of homicides and the clear community tensions that's created. Clearly a police shooting then last weekend, and then most recently as well, which some of you may have been aware of, a public meeting in the city centre to discuss the challenges that we've collectively faced in the city centre. So, by way of an overview, those are the high level items that we've had. It's certainly created a lot of operational demand upon us across the piece, from our detective resources right the way through to our neighbourhood policing teams. So, and I think I welcome questions from members.
Right, I've got questions. First of all, I've got Councillor Evans. Oh, sorry, Leader.
Thank you, Presiding Member, and thank you, Superintendent Jones. And I was with you at that public meeting with businesses hosted by BID, so a thank you to BID, yourself and the Police and Crime Commissioner Jane Mudd, who was also in attendance, facing those questions. Businesses rightly pointed out a lot of concerns, and we both there listened and took questions. And I think you were 2 weeks into the job, so, or maybe less than that. So thank you for doing that, and I thought you were brilliant, I have to say, in fielding those questions. And I congratulate the police on Operation Krypton, as making a meaningful difference. I have one question on that and one question on another really serious item, if I may. So the question on that is, the concern from businesses and residents is that Operation Krypton is just a surge and doesn't continue. So they would like a consistent pattern of policing of that level or close to that level to ensure those people with issues don't redominate or try to redominate the city public space. So if you could offer some words on that, I'd be very, very grateful. And secondly, but really seriously, the community of Orway was rocked, again, unfortunately, with some serious crimes. What can you offer, and what the police are doing to reassure the community and keep the community on board to deal with the serious matters taking place in the wonderful community of Orway?
Okay, thank you. So I'll come to your first point first, clearly. So in terms of the sustainability of police action, as you rightly say, the 8 weeks of Krypton take us up to the start of September, which, as you say, provides a significant suppressive effect to the issues that we've seen within the city centre. From our perspective, that's just the start for us. So, having attended the Safer Newport meeting yesterday, we're now starting to work with our partners across the local authority to start looking at the problem-solving approaches to make sure that the difference that you're seeing now is sustained right through the winter months and beyond. That's not to say that we won't have challenges along the way. As we all know, the legislative framework within which we and regulatory framework which we now operate under means that the ability to send people to prison, potentially, is far less than it used to be. So in terms of those fire breaks that we once had, in terms of allowing people access to prison and breaking them down into more manageable groups of people, that's something of the past, unfortunately. So it's a new trend for us, but certainly working with our colleagues across the local authority and other partners such as probation and youth offending services, we've started discussing already how we extend the impact of Krypton right across into the coming years. And from a resource perspective, we've similarly looked at our resourcing across the city centre. There will be a boost to the neighbourhood policing team in the city centre with new officers starting in September, which aligns with the end of Krypton. And similarly, in terms of the leadership around the team, we're also looking at freshening up the leadership of our neighbourhood policing team in the city centre. So from our perspective, this isn't a one-off. This is about a real investment into the city centre to make sure that people can come and enjoy the city centre, the businesses can thrive, and we are responsive to the concerns that were rightly raised in that public meeting. And then secondly, in terms of the issues in Norway, I think for us all, very impactful for the city and for the local community there. You will have noticed that Krypton likewise extends throughout the city of Newport. So as part of that, there's a strong engagement element as well. So from our perspective, it's about our high visibility presence in and around Galway. Again, to provide opportunities for us to listen to the concerns of our local communities. And likewise, you'll have probably noticed on our social media how we've upped the levels of surgeries that we've been having within Galway and right across Newport, again, to create opportunities to listen, to reassure us, so we can be far more responsive moving forward.
Thank you very much. Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Superintendent, you did allude to it slightly, but perhaps I could clarify the situation. I appreciate the police have been getting a lot of flack recently, and I am mindful that other organisations need to take responsibility for their actions as well. The Council, housing associations, homeless charities and addiction services all need to play their part in tackling antisocial behaviour in our city centre. Perhaps you could explain to members how the Sentencing Act of 2026 impacts on your role, with the changes implemented from March of this year, and how the even earlier release of prisoners from September is likely to impact on our communities across the city. Thank you.
Yeah, as alluded to earlier, the context in which you operate has changed. So when you are looking at people who traditionally have potentially gone to prison for upwards of 12 months or more, that provided us as a community and the policing with an opportunity to essentially have a fire break. Those opportunities are pretty much gone now, and we certainly have more people with more complex needs on our streets. I'll give an example for you of how that's played out. Some of you who may have read the Argus or followed our social media, in the first week of Krypton, after a spate of commercial burglaries in the city centre, we charged an individual with a number of commercial breaks and shoplifting offences. He went to court the following morning and was subsequently released back into the community on bail. We now know that through Krypton that he's back offending within our city. So I think as an example that shows you the challenges that we are collectively facing, and it certainly causes us to reflect on how we do our business, and importantly for us, the importance of the partnership, so that we can address these complex needs with a view to preventing that offending.
Right. Thank you. Councillor Rheoli'r.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. Good evening, Superintendent. As I'm sure you're aware, we've got travellers on the Clevelands again. This is the second incursion this year, and whilst the removal protocol is the responsibility of the Council under the Welsh Office guidelines, what are the police doing to try and curb antisocial behaviour? 2 incidents, at least, a bit more than antisocial behaviour have been reported, and several other minor incidents. I'd be grateful if you could outline what the police are doing. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So I think the new traveller guidance, as you rightly say, puts an onus on the local authority to work with the police. What I will say is if those matters are reported to us, if they're crimes or ASB, then we will respond. What we do in and around traveller encampments is we will engage with both sides, with community and the travellers themselves. And as we've seen most recently, we do implement patrol strategies in and around the traveller side to prevent both sides from being victimised, but also to make sure that we dissuade those acts of antisocial behaviour. So in summary, I think the patrol strategies are there to deter, but also to engage, to find out what people's intentions are. But if you do report something to us, then we will act proactively to investigate those matters.
Thank you.
Councillor Fairweather.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Superintendent, first of all, I'm pleased to see that you've taken a proactive stance now on the city centre. But when somebody's arrested on the city centre, they're taken up to Ystrad. That takes, because I've spoken to some police officers, that takes officers out of the system for an extra 60 to 90 minutes a time because of travelling back and forth. Why don't we use Newport Central? It's got a fully functioning custody unit. It's still used now when you need it. And who took the decision to move everybody up to Ystrad when we have a fantastic place in Newport? It could save officers time and we'd have them on the beat a lot more quicker.
There's a couple of questions in there, but I think I'll allude to the first instance that Newport Central has been open for the past 2 weeks to support us in that suppressive activity under Operation Krypton. In terms of all the other questions, I think I'll have to respond to you separately on those. After all, as I mentioned, I've only been in the force 7 weeks, so I need to understand the context in which those decisions were made and report back to you individually.
Thank you. Councillor Mogford.
Do police vehicles have unfettered access to the city centre, or do they need to be in blue light mode?
My understanding is that they've got unfettered access to provide those reassurance patrols.
Okay. Councillor Corton.
Thank you. Superintendent, I just want to thank your officers for the involvement they've had in our community since the awful accident in Allway, just providing reassurance, and I'm sure Deb will when she, as well. But I just wanted to raise something on behalf of residents on the Caldra who've approached me regarding concerns about speeding in the area and the antisocial use of e-bikes up and down that very straight stretch of road. They've asked if we can get some speed cameras or the speed van up there, if possible, just to help with some enforcement, because there's been a bit of a nasty accident and they just need that reassurance, really. Thanks.
Yes, certainly, and I think your question provides the breadth of policing, isn't it, from one end, where we have had homicides right through to the speed watches, which are an important part of what we do. So from our perspective, useful for the feedback. I'll feed it back to the local policing teams to engage with speed watch activities, but from our perspective, and as part of Krypton, we will be engaging with those off-road bikes and the electric bikes over the coming weeks. Again, working with the local authority to try and reduce the amount of off-road bikes that we do see, because we acknowledge the risk that they certainly pose.
Thank you. Councillor Spencer.
Thank you, President. I'd just like to, it's the start of the school holidays now. The first day of the school holidays yesterday, my grandson and 3 of his friends attended Beechwood Park. They were chased from the park by 4 other youths by knife point. Firstly, I'd like to thank your officers for turning up to the response in such a quick time. However, I'd just like to make a request, if we could maybe put some patrols in the park areas in Newport to see the presence and youths can see that police are available.
Yeah, certainly. I hope your grandchildren are okay. Thank you for the feedback for the officers, but certainly as part of this, I'll take that back and make sure that you do see some officers.
Thank you. Councillor Bev Davis.
Thank you, Presiding Member, Superintendent. Up until a few weeks ago, people I worked with and lived in the city centre would complain continuously about the inaction of police, and we need the police officers, no one there. But I would like to say on their behalf that in the last couple of weeks, and I've seen those same people that live in the city centre have said how brilliant it is that there is now a lot more police evidence within the city centre. So I'd like to thank you and your officers for that. Thank you.
I got Councillor Hussain.
wanted to say
We can't hear you.
Oh, can't you hear me? I'm got my mic on.
Yeah, you have to get a bit closer maybe to the microphone.
Any better now?
That's better, thank you.
Right, so I just wanted to say thank you after the tragic incident on St Vincent Road. Firstly, I'd just like to express my sincere condolences to the family and the loved ones of the lady who sadly lost her life. And just also to say thank you to Inspector Giles and all the officers involved for their hard work during such a difficult time. Inspector Giles, he kept me informed throughout the investigation, which was, ensuring that I was able to respond to residents' concerns. And I just like to say a big thank you for the dedication of the police officers and the emergency services who supported the community during this tragic incident. If you could just pass my thanks to Inspector Giles, please. I know he's away for a few weeks. He mentioned that when I spoke to him, but I just like to pass my thanks on. Thanks.
Thank you. I will do. Thanks.
I got Councillor Cox.
Superintendent, I'm sure you're aware of the viewing point at Christchurch, which obviously is very popular, where people go and have a coffee and admire the view over Caerleon. But I'm sure you also know that it became quite a popular place for drug dealers and e-bikes, and that as a consequence of that, we were told that there would be increased police patrols. And I think everybody in the neighbourhood was delighted to learn 2 weeks ago that you'd had, I don't know if it's your first success up there, but you'd managed to arrest somebody on suspicion of drug dealing. You'd seized the bike and disposed of it. And I think that was really welcome news to people who've been putting up with a nuisance up there. So I, wanted to say thank you and just say, let's see some more, please.
No, thank you, and I just encourage everybody in terms of that. It's important that you keep reporting if your constituents are still suffering from the effects of drugs and ASP. Please keep reporting it, so it allows us an accurate picture of where to deploy our officers.
Thank you, Councillor Ripley.
Thank you, Superintendent, and thanks for the work that you're doing in the city centre. The good people of Underwood have been absolutely plagued by youths, people under 16, people over 16, over 18, driving bikes the wrong way down the road towards oncoming traffic without any safety helmets or gear in their t-shirts and in their shorts. People have taken to social media saying there's only one way this is going to end up, and we fully in this chamber understand and know what they are saying. The Bishop Community Council posted on a Facebook page that they are in contact with PCSOs every week and they're telling them the information. Other members of the community have written to myself and my colleague and have said that they are now going to leave the community because they cannot put up with such antisocial, dangerous behaviour, because if they're walking down the streets and they happen to run into you, you're going to be in fear of losing your life as well. Can we have, because we need it, we need an Operation Krypton-style effect on the Underwood estate, not just one day, but a continued effort, because we are being plagued with it. Will you help us and get an undertaking that either your officers will meet us or you'll just implement this so that we can stop this behaviour, protect the young people who are behaving in such a dangerous way to themselves and to others, and restore peace. Thank you.
Thank you. So just to start, Krypton is a whole new boat operation. So from our perspective, it does include your ward. So from our perspective, yes, e-bikes is an issue nationally for the police in terms of our ability to respond to them. It is a complex threat. It might not seem that way, but the events of Ely in 2023 clearly exposes what can happen both from a policing perspective and from a community perspective from when things go wrong, as you rightly allude to. So earlier on today, I met with the National Roads Policing Lead to find out if we in Gwent Police were missing a trick. Was there anything out there that we could do differently with a view to stopping these vehicles and engaging with that criminality? But at the moment, there is nothing nationally that we can do differently in terms of innovation. But as part of Krypton over the coming weeks, I think I mentioned it earlier, we will be targeting those e-bikes and the Surons, as they're called. So over the next few weeks, you may see our police aircraft over Newport for extended periods of time. That is specifically to look at and deal with the threat of off-road bikes so that we're able to deal with them safely. Because, as you rightly say, they are a danger to the public and to those people on the back of them. But, as I've already said, our ability to deal with them is somewhat hampered because there is no easy way of doing it. But we're doing our best. I would ask for community intelligence. If you are aware, or any of your constituents are aware of where these bikes are being held, then we will positively enforce against them. Likewise, if you're aware of who the riders are, please, 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 I implore you to tell us who they are so we can deal with them when they are static at the safest possible means. But, as I said, as part of Krypton, we will be looking to engage with more dynamically over the coming weeks using the police aircraft.
Okay, Madam Mayor, Councillor Hardy.
Thanks, Mr Presiding Member. Thanks to Councillor Jane Meadows, PCC, she put me in touch with the Chief Constable. We had a long conversation. I have Stevie Warden's personal number, and they've been great. My only issue at the moment is the police and the PCSOs are holding ward surgeries in a police station. The demographic of that ward is if anyone is seen walking into a police station, they're targeted. We have told them, and they're taking no notice whatsoever. They need to use the community centre. There's a room in there they can take people completely unaware of anyone else's sight. They do not feel safe speaking to police. And I've said this over and over again. So if you can pass that back, please, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, no problem at all. As part of our plans over the next 6 months, we are looking for more community-based surgeries. So I'll build that into it, and I'll make sure that Stevie speaks to you.
Councillor Howells.
Thank you, Presiding Member. You partly touched on one of the issues, Superintendent, around the city centre and Operation Krypton. So I'll make that question brief and then ask another one, if that's okay. The Operation Krypton is predicated, I understand, on sort of 16 community action team police officers being seconded into the Newport area. You talked about your plans for continuing those efforts. How are you going to do that and make sure that your resource goes? Because other areas will be affected by losing those resources to Newport over the period of time. How are you going to balance the books is my first question. The second question is in relation to the police's powers under the ASB Crime and Policing Act 2014 and then the 2026 Act, which has recently received royal assent and comes into force in October. There's been a reluctance from the police generally to use the civil enforcement powers within those acts to the significant detriment, in my view, of the community. So prior to the 2014 Act, there was the antisocial behaviour order legislation, which was in the magistrates' courts, as you'll know. That went away and was replaced with civil injunction orders. There was a reluctance from CPS lawyers to go anywhere near the civil courts because that's not their experience. And so there's a significant reliance on criminal behaviour orders tagged onto criminal convictions instead of using the powers available in the ASB Crime and Policing Act. Those civil injunction orders pretty much stay the same, will become respect orders in the 2026 legislation, which is coming in October. But that's still a power in the civil courts. What can you give us as an assurance that the police will make full use of its tools rather than selectively choose them to what suits the CPS lawyers?
So I'll start with the first question in relation to the sustainability. As I mentioned earlier, we are looking at a resourcing model moving forward. This period of what is 8 weeks is firmly about suppression. It's about gathering evidence with a view to enabling a longer-term problem-solving plan. You may not be aware, we're also reviewing City Safe as well, and that utilises officers from across the force to come in to support city centre colleagues. So from our perspective, yes, you're right, the community action team are a nice to have, but we are in an acute period of enforcement. So working with our local authority partners, I say, going into the problem solving, but what I can say is that there will be more officers in the city centre and be tasked accordingly. In terms of the civil orders, yes, in terms of the CPS, but from our perspective, we've got cadros who work alongside each of our neighbour policing teams, whose role is to reduce crime, ASB and disorder. They're tasked with engaging with the civil injunctions, and you may not be aware that we've I think it's 6 closure orders in the past 10 days aligned to Operation Krypton, working with our local authority colleagues to do so. So the information sharing is there. We've got the staff to be able to do so. We understand we need to be better, and as a result of that, we've got a masterclass for all of our cadros on September the 8th with the Joint Legal Services of South Wales Police. And that is a recognition of the fact that the powers are coming. We need to be better at applying for them, and not to forget we've also got domestic abuse protection orders as well. So there is a sea change coming in terms of the civil orders that are available to us. We are upskilling to be able to do so. We've got the staff there to do it, and there will be a focus on it.
Thank you, Councillor Callaway.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Superintendent, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Goldcliff area. There's quite a long stretch of road there, but over the last couple of months, between Nash, Goldcliff, heading towards the seawall wall, where there's a significant amount of drug taking, I'm being told. This has culminated, particularly last Thursday, with the amount of speeding from between those two villages, with a vehicle crashing into 2 front gardeners and into a power pylon. We've had some communications, in fairness to Jeff, from the police. The sort of challenge we've got, and the issue, and I need some reassurance really, is GoSafe is saying the average speed is 28, 29 miles an hour. Averages don't mean nothing to me, and you know, some people could be going 60 or 70, you know what I mean, right? They're on drugs because there's CCTV evidence that the people who crashed into these gardens were inhaling something whilst they were driving. One of the passengers ran off. We then have a situation where GoSafe is saying that the average is 29. They're reluctant to put a van to monitor this because it's not safe. So the risk assessment is saying it's not safe for a van, yet it's supposed to be safe for pedestrians. The risk assessment is saying it might be suitable for a trained motorcycle officer, but you don't possess that resource. Can I have some reassurance that perhaps you could borrow that resource from a neighbouring police authority, or something that can give residents some sort of peace of mind?
Clearly, as a community concern, I'll take that on and find out what the teams have been doing. I'm not personally aware of the issue or the crash in cars, and likewise not of the response from GoSafe. But if I can take that away, I'll get an understanding from GoSafe and then report back to you.
Councillor Hughes.
Thank you, Superintendent, and croeso to Casnewydd, really. But it's obviously, as we've said, been a bit of a baptism of fire for you. But you know, what I would like to acknowledge as well is the work that goes on behind the scenes that many people often don't see, and that involves a cross-section of officers from the police, from the council, and also our mental health service workers, and our social workers, and also I think our door staff as well, the door staff that work in our city centres, and I think they deserve some credit as well for that. And I'm looking forward really to seeing how we can cement a lot of those relationships together. But you know, the results coming back are pretty positive at the moment, and I hope they do hold. If I could say as well that some of that is how we've changed some of the systems behind that scene. So I think the daily operational tasking meetings are going really, really well, and I think there's some really good feedback from our staff on that. So if you could pass that back to officers as well. So it'll be look forward to sort of building on those relationships over the coming months, Denise. Thank you.
No, thank you. And in terms of that, I suppose, ecosystem of people working in the city centre, for your reassurance, we're not being complacent in this regard. I've got Chief Inspector Mark Soderland at the moment reviewing how we deliver City Safe, with a view to making it safer for everybody, including the Advanced Case Women and Girls agenda as well. So it's a really important part for us to start to not to be complacent.
Well, I got Councillor Morris, and I think that's the last one then. I think that the time's up then. Councillor Morris?
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. Superintendent, this question follows on nicely from the previous speaker. Many people in Newport do not feel safe in Newport city centre. Many people say they don't go to the city centre for that reason. Now, we have people monitoring CCTV constantly, which should give them some reassurance. How quickly can they get in touch with the police as soon as they pick something up? And are you happy from the police point of view that the liaison between the council and the police is working well?
Thank you. Yeah. So from our perspective, in terms of responsiveness, we're happy with the responsiveness to CCTV. But what I would say, one of the big successes for us from Operation Krypton thus far is our ability to work with local authority partners, the street wardens and the BID, with that joint patrolling, that joint tasking on a daily basis. It really has provided us a far more clear picture of what the threats are within the city centre and allowed us to respond accordingly. So from our perspective, you know, we've got that now for up until September, but certainly the relationships and the tasking and how we've done it has certainly been a positive and something we'd look to build upon.
I think you did very well there tonight, first time. Answered all the questions and a lot of plaudits as well for the police. So thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Right, we move on now to item 5. Notice of motion, Welsh Government review of the M4 motorway. Leader.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I take the motion as read. I hope everyone's read it. It's a really, really important motion around congestion, traffic, and the new Welsh Government led by Plaid Cymru. I and the leaders before me are all pro the M4 Relief Road, quite rightly, because what we know is if there's any log jam on the M4, which there frequently is at peak times, anyone who knows and lives in and around the city knows, the traffic builds within the city all across its choke points. And if there was any moves by the Plaid government to, as they haven't ruled out, junction closures, they haven't said which junctions or how many junctions, but we all know even one of those junction closures would be catastrophic for congestion within the city that is already bad at peak times in many areas across the city, in many wards represented by different political parties. This is not acceptable from this administration. We are totally opposed to M4 junction closures, and anything that diverts, or any proposal that diverts M4 traffic through Newport will only cause mayhem. The new Plaid government have also not ruled out and are considering previously called the Blue Route. And if anyone knows the Blue Route, it basically comes off Mega, goes down Steel Road into the ward of Llanwern, Liswery. Anyone who knows Newport knows that's our major growth point. Lots of houses at the Glenlyn estate. Many people living there. I think nearly 2,000 units, and I think the plan is to build it to 4,000 units. It's already now congested because of that growth, that housing development. If the Blue Route, which I think was in 2015, but someone corrects me on that, goes ahead, they'll just be funneling M4 traffic down a place that's already heavily congested at peak travel times. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who thinks that is mad for the residents of Llanwern, Liswery, Pilgwenley, Moys Glass and Dyffryn to experience any more heavy traffic through that area, including along the SDR. The Plaid government, as I understand, I think from an opposition MS question around what was proceeding with the old green, I think they said they were going to proceed with it. And then a couple of weeks later, they said everything was going to be reviewed and all the alternatives, but they were definitely going to rule out the black route, which is the M4 relief route. It's really unclear to me whether that includes burns, includes those initiatives. Is it separate? Is it part of the review? We have no further of understanding what is going on. What is clear to all of us, and particularly to this administration, is the status quo and no action. It can't go ahead. I accept that. But equally, penalising Newport residents and businesses for an M4 traffic problem is not acceptable to this administration.
I'm happy to second, but I reserve my right to speak.
Presiding Member, I'd like to propose an amendment. I haven't written it down because it's very simple, so I'm hoping, but I'm literally adding a couple of words in to the amendment. So members will see at the start of the motion where it goes on and says Newport City Labour leaders. At the start of the motion, I just want to add in, and the three main opposition groups after those words.
Amendment seconded.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I did think if you wanted cross-party support, that was the funny way to get it. It wasn't very Andy Burnham, and I'm very happy to support this amendment and second it.
Okay. Does anyone want to speak? Sorry, Leader. Sorry? Leader?
Thank you. The one good thing about Andy Burnham is he always beats Conservatives, so we hope to continue that tradition of our new Prime Minister. I'm happy to accept that amendment. It's important we all work together. The Newport City Labour leaders in favour of the M4 relief is just a fact, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
I beg to move to vote.
Right, okay. So the amendment has been moved. So anybody want to speak on the amendment?
Sorry, Leader, can I just check, is that a motion that the vote now be put?
On the amendment?
Yes. Yeah, is there a second to the vote be taken? Right. Right, okay. It's been moved, now the vote be taken. All those, any objections? Any objections to the vote being taken? No, right. Can we move the vote then, please? Oh, come on. All those in... I'm not sure whether there's some hands missing there.
I think this is for all in favour, isn't it?
Yeah.
The amendment.
All those in favour of the amendment. I can't see any against up there. Up front. Yeah, are there any against the amendment? The amendment is carried then. Right. Is it a further amendment, is it? Yeah, we've got a further amendment coming.
Yes, that's right. I believe it might be in writing somewhere. Perfect. We'll pass it round in writing now. But I'll read it out as well. At the end, we would like to add, this Council further believes that the Welsh Government should continue implementation of the Burns programme, adapting individual measures where necessary, and properly assess the overall impact of the programme while alternative strategic interventions are considered.
If you give us a couple of minutes to read the amendments, okay?
So, can I just clarify, Councillor James, we're talking about the addition of the sentence onto the end of the original motion, aren't we?
Yes,
yeah.
That's right.
Excuse me, Presiding Member, the members online haven't got a copy.
Yeah, I can read it out again, if that helps. So, your mic isn't turned on.
Councillor will read the amendment out, and then obviously we'll make a decision then. Okay.
Would someone be able to put it in the chat as well? Is that all right? The motion is to add a sentence to the end that states, "This Council further believes that the Welsh Government should continue implementation of the Burns programme, adapting individual measures where necessary, and properly assess the overall impact of the programme while alternative strategic interventions are considered."
Right, that's the amendment. Is there a second to that amendment?
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer. I formally second that.
Sorry? You can second it. Right, okay. Do you want to speak on that, Councillor Mayor?
No, I don't.
Right, okay.
I think it's self-explanatory.
Okay. Anybody else want to speak to that amendment? Councillor?
Thank you, Presiding Member. I will be opposing this amendment. Clearly, if you look at the Burns Commission recommendations, a lot of that is about charging cars to park, congestion charging. You'd be agreeing, if you agreed to this amendment, to be proposals for the Old Green Crossing, for bus lanes on the A48 St Mellons. All of these things would cause a huge damage to the city centre, and I will not be supporting this amendment.
Anybody else want to speak on the amendment? Leader?
Yeah, online. 3 times I've raised my hand.
I've got you down, Kevin.
Okay.
Leader?
Thank you, Presiding Member. I thank Councillor James for this amendment. We're minded to reject this amendment because mainly of the tolling of the roads as recommended by the Burns. We're on record of never supporting toll roads around Newport to come in or to come out, or in any way charging residents in such a manner. So on that basis, we couldn't proceed with a blanket supportive of the Burns in that regard. We also, in the midst of sending a letter, or sent the letter, around the petition to the Welsh Government around significant proposals by Old Green, namely the Old Green Roundabout. We haven't had a response yet, so that'll be preempting and that response from scrutiny from the petitioners. So we would wait for that response as well, Presiding Member.
Just so we're clear, Kevin, you put your hand up when the original motion was there,
yeah,
and then this is the amendment now, when that's when your hand went up for the amendment, okay?
Yeah,
so over to you now, Kevin.
Yeah, it was basically to support that amendment. But going back to this from the Green member, absolutely not. Having worked on the 7 bridges for 25 plus years, you'll never know the feeling of the public really around tolling. It's massively unfair, and I agree with both previous speakers. That's the leader and Councillor Evans. These things normally they put this type of motion in, and if they adapt the Burns, it just seems to be a massive grey area that will be added onto. And so, for that reason alone, I agree with the 2 previous speakers, and I'm not for this last amendment.
Okay, Councillor Howells.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I unfortunately cannot support the amendment, although I thank Councillor James for discussing it with me constructively, and as we do as the Lisbon Independents, we work with all groups to try and agree consensus. There are some things within the Burns Commission recommendations that we can't support around the Old Green Roundabout, as other speakers have mentioned, the leaders mentioned about charges to motorists, and Councillor Evans also alluded to charges for extra parking. There's also the recommendation for a pay-per-mile usage across the sort of region to replace sort of vehicle tax and excise duty, and we just cannot support all those measures without any sort of further scrutiny on them, so I'm not going to be able to support the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Howells. I got Councillor Ariannu.
Yes, thank you, Presiding Member. I will be supporting the amendment. I think it makes a lot of sense myself. I mean, we have to be realistic. colleagues, haven't we? The M4 Relief Road probably was the solution to the issues of congestion in Newport, but that was many years ago. A lot of money has been spent since then under the Burns Report Commission, and there are still things to be carried out under that Burns Commission. Now let's look at the financial reality in the country now. We've got a new Prime Minister. I can see that Wales necessarily is going to command more finances to support something like the M4 Relief Road, even though that might be the solution for the congestion in Newport. Quite a bit of money has been spent on the work, and I did look that up to see how much of the Burns Commission recommendations have been implemented. The railway stations, and then there is the work that they plan to do at the Old Green Roundabout to increase and to support other modes of travel. We cannot ignore that. I think the other thing we cannot ignore, and we're experiencing it right now, and that is the climate. I don't know why we're ignoring that. It's hitting us in the face, colleagues. These heat waves are not natural.
Oh, poppycock. Can we move on? Poppycock.
Yeah, sorry.
Kevin, don't interrupt when a member's speaking, please.
Who's telling me to move on?
Never mind that. Hurry up, McFarlane, and finish what you've got, please.
You're expressing an opinion that we all don't share, aren't you? We all don't share your next
Kevin, please. Kevin, Kevin, please stop.
Will you stop interfering in my time, please?
Crack on, then.
Have I exhausted my 3 minutes?
Yes.
No. Tell me when my time comes. So I will be supporting the amendment. And I also would like to refer to a bit of hypocrisy on the Labour side. We called off the M4 Relief Road despite the introductory sentence on that motion from the leader and his deputy. We called it off. We called time off on it 6-7 years ago. Okay? So how are we, because we are not now in Cardiff, we are demanding that the M4 Relief Road should be implemented. It won't unless there will be more money from the UK government. Are they willing to work to get that more money? I don't think so, actually. It's a lot of hot air, and it's just politics for its own sake. So I am supporting the amendment, and I'm voting against the original motion. Thank you.
Right, thank you. Councillor Corden.
And don't interrupt me, please.
Oh, okay.
Councillor Corden.
Thank you very much. I'm just standing to say that I won't be supporting Councillor James's amendment. I fully understand all the arguments around climate change and all the concerns we have around that, but I couldn't possibly vote for something that would potentially further increase the pressure on the cost of living for residents in England. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Fairweather.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Presiding Member. I won't be supporting the motion, the amendment, and I wouldn't support anything that restricts the use of the car. I think that's wrong. As somebody that travels back and forth to Cardiff on occasions, I can tell you now that the mess that Cardiff have made of their road infrastructure, the congestion that you get in the morning and in the evening coming out, and now they're putting in place this parking levy, which will do nothing but drive business out of the city centre into the outskirts. The Green Party are complicit in the war on the motorist, and I will not support them.
Right, anybody else wants to speak to the amendment? No, right. Do you want to wind up on the amendment? The amendment?
Okay, thank you. Not sure how much point there is in saying this now, given that it's pretty clear where this motion's going, but you know what, I'm going to do it anyway. We support the original motion's opposition to closing M4 junctions, and we don't want to see M4 traffic diverted through Newport. And actually, we believe that that amendment complements that position. What the amendment does is we ask that for the continued implementation of the Burns programme, the programme that Newport Labour have previously supported, adapt the individual measures where necessary. So if you wanted to oppose the old green, tolls, anything else, you still could. Properly assess the impact of the programme while the Plaid Cymru-led Welsh Government considers the road. It doesn't have to be either or. At the end of the day, the Burns programme is the one on the table now. Newport City Council helped shape that through the Chief Exec's membership of the South East Wales Transport Commission. That's, these are our plans as much as anyone else's in the South East Wales area. And we should continue delivering it and learn from the evidence it provides. Programmes on this scale evolve, so can Burns. So, like I said, if you take issue with the old green or anything else, there's nothing to stop you from continuing to challenge that, and indeed, I think you should. That is precisely why our amendment is referring to adapting individual measures where necessary, so but still continuing to evaluate the programme as a whole. Now, the need to improve the M4 has been discussed since the early 1990s. I'm sure most of you were aware. In fact, the need of that came from a study in 1989, which is before I was born. I'm now hurtling towards middle age, probably perimenopausal. So to give you context, this is half a life. It's half a life we've been discussing it, and guess what? We've got no plan on the table. Welsh Labour spent years considering a relief road and then scrapped it. Plaid don't have a road proposal on the table right now for anyone to scrutinise, and they've ruled out the previous ones. So whatever members' views are on the M4 relief road, I'm sure we've all heard enough from our constituents that they want solutions now. They don't want to wait another 30, 40 years for this. The Burns proposals are on the table now. So you can back a relief road, you're probably not going to see it for decades anyway. So let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater, although maybe you're prepared to today anyway. But let's keep the Welsh Government's feet to the fire by demanding that they deliver the programme already underway, adapt it where necessary, assess its impact, while considering longer-term strategic interventions as needed. Thank you.
We move on now to the vote for the amendment. All those in favour of the amendment? There's two, I can see two hands up. Three now. Three. Right. All those against the amendment? Yeah. Any abstentions? The amendment is lost. Okay. So move on now to the substantive amendment. Right. All those. Any comments now on the? Any comments on the substantive motion? Leader, any comments? Yeah, you introduced it. Anybody else want to? Councillor Mudd.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I do think it's really important, having listened to the debate, there are some aspects of this that we don't lose in relation to this. I will be voting for the motion, and we've got a long history of supporting this here in this City Council. But I'd like to highlight some risks that are associated with the proposed closure of the M4 junctions. There's a significant risk to the health of our citizens in Newport if these junctions are closed. We've made major improvements in air quality across the whole of our city, and diverting traffic back onto our roads through our communities would be a risk to people's health. We'd see an increase in respiratory disease. I'd also like to flag a very serious issue if M4 junctions were to be closed, and that is the risk to life. And this is something that would need proper consideration and a really robust evidence base, because the impact of the M4 junction closures could impact detrimentally on the response times for our emergency services that serve the population of both Newport and the wider Gwent area, and that is a very serious risk that would need to be taken into account. Having listened to the debate this evening, I think one thing is really clear, and that is Burns has been going on since November 2020, and the ambition was to deliver an integrated transport network by 2029. What I would reiterate in relation to this, while the new Welsh Government are looking at this and considering this, is that we also need to be really clear and really firm that the financial investment that's been committed to this should not be lost. Whatever the solution, the financial investment should not be lost, because that would be to the detriment of our citizens here in Newport. So for the benefit of our communities, for the benefit of people's health, and to ensure that people are safe within our communities, I am voting in support of this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mudd. Kevin, your name is it? Kevin Whitehead?
Yeah, thank you, Presiding Member. So as regards the motion put forward by the leader, absolutely, and I speak as somebody that has driven this route for, like I say, 25 years. First and foremost, I haven't met one person that hasn't been horrified by the fact they want to further snarl Newport up. I mean, that is an absolute no-brainer. There's massive implications for that. So I don't know who the hell have suggested that. Is crazy. But as regards the M4 itself, I share lifts. We've joined in with the whole thing about sharing lifts, lift shares to work, etc. But on some occasions, I mean, I cannot believe that an autocratic decision was taken back in the day after spending something like, I don't know, £114 million talking about it. And then you have an eminent professor that suggested the black route, which I think most people were like, yep. You know, some mentioned the wetlands. 2% of the wetlands would have been compromised, bearing in mind that was the wetlands was created rather than natural. But that's by the by. I travel that road every day, and as anybody bog standard mechanic should know, the slower the vehicle travels, the more emissions. The lower the gear you're in, you're giving up. Some nights we even have to turn off. In weather like this, we will turn off the AC. We'll turn it all off, because the fumes on that road, because traffic are driving at such a slow pace, is absolutely ridiculous. So we're talking health implications. That speaks for itself, because it's literally fumes coming straight from exhaust. And electric cars are no different. You might, if you want to look into that, you might be surprised. So yeah, it's utter madness. And Mr. Drakeford took that autocratic decision, which absolutely blew me away for a start. We are supposed to be a democracy. Wasted all that money, and when we're talking about money. So yeah, unless there was a superbly joined up transport infrastructure, which we all talk about, it isn't happening. And the reality is that people do have to drive cars, unfortunately. I like driving a car. It's quite pleasant, really. So all these little pleasantries in our life, they shouldn't be demeaned, and you shouldn't be guilted by it. And the original with the toll-ins and things like that, I know the implications of toll-ins, chaotic. So absolutely, I think they say there's not discussions, this and that. You haven't got to do anything substantive to the original, what they wanted to do as regards the black route, etc. There hasn't got to be massive things added on to that. It's just tidying it up, submitting it, and hopefully getting Westminster on board. I mean, it's been promised by a previous Prime Minister. I won't mention his name. I don't like doing things like that. But these things are doable. If we can throw money all around the world on foreign aid, we can do this. About time we started looking after ourselves. There's a lot of peeved off people out there who've got to face this every single day. And coming off from the tunnels, I wouldn't want to be one of them houses down there, for example. But again, I will apologise a little bit there to Councillor Umami.
Kevin, your time is up, please. Can you wind up, please?
Literally 1 second. But some of us are not indoctrinated. We are a tiny dot on this planet. Unless you start getting China and the big fish to start playing rules, we're actually peeing in the wind. All right?
Thank you for that analogy. Right, I got Councillor Deb Davis. Did you put... Oh, right, sorry, you did say... You did say that.
Seconding and reserve my right to speak.
You did,
and I speak.
Right. Councillor Druitt?
Thank you, Presiding Member. I support this motion. Plaid Cymru's plan to close motorway junctions around the city is crazy. For decades, Newport has borne the burden of being the principal gateway between South Wales and the rest of the United Kingdom. Easy access to the motorway network is one of Newport's greatest economic strengths. Industrial estates, retail centres, city centre businesses, all major employees rely on easy motorway access. Making motorway access more difficult would damage our local economy and harm inward investment. Moreover, Plaid Cymru wants to blame the people of Newport for the congestion on the M4 that's not of their making. Every time there's a Taylor Swift or Ed Sheeran concert in Cardiff, the M4 is gridlocked. So why should the good citizens of Newport be penalised for what is a national transport problem? Why should our local roads be expected to accept more traffic, more pollution, longer journey times? It's clear to me, by voting Plaid Cymru, you'll get traffic chaos in our city. By voting Green, you'll get the same result. If motorway junctions are closed, it's Newport residents who pay the price. That's why this Labour Council has long supported an M4 relief road. Labour does not want to close Newport's motorway junctions. Labour does not want to divert traffic through our communities. Above all, Labour does not want to blame the people of Newport for the congestion on the M4. This motion sends a clear message to the Welsh Government. I urge all members to support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Druitt. Councillor Ariannu.
Yes.
You're on mute.
I'm only going to put a question because it could be myself, but I am not aware currently there are any proposals, hard proposals, from the Welsh Government, the new Welsh Government, for closing junctions on the M4 around the Newport. I have noticed, obviously, posting on Facebook emanating from Labour members of this council saying that, but I have not seen definite proposal from the Welsh Government. So when the proposer or the second conclude this, I'd like them to answer that question and tell us when were those measures were announced and are there any consultation about them. I don't want to see junctions closed. This is not a new question. This is a question that actually this council considered in the 1990s. Okay, that's how long ago that, about restricting motorway junctions around the Newport. But I'd like that question to be answered. Are there definite proposals? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ariannu. Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Ironically, I don't want to go back to when the M4 was first muted, and my parents used to live in Western Avenue, and we moved because the motorway was proposed and actually built in our back garden. And they didn't complain because it was seen as progress and triumph. And it's been hugely beneficial to the city. You've only got to look at the motorway corridor to see how many businesses are relocated along there. It's also not new that in 2010, ironically, it was both I think it was the Labour-Plaid administration in Cardiff. I was asked to go down there, and the same question was asked about closing junctions, and at the time we said resolutely no. So now in this bit of a dilemma, we've got a bit of an unholy alliance across this room where most of the council are supporting the same thing, and I will, and our group will be supporting this motion because closure of any junctions will have a catastrophic effect on the rest of the city, and the last thing we need at the moment is more disruption for our hard-pressed residents. So I will be supporting the motion.
Talking about when you were a young lad, when I was a young lad, I used to walk through the tunnels while they were building it. Right, Councillor James.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I'm not really sure where Councillor Druitt's comments about the Greens came from, considering our amendment, although it was voted down, actually didn't stop this council from backing an M4 Relief Road. Our point is there isn't a Relief Road proposal for us to consider. If you vote Labour, they'll think about it for another 2 decades and then scrap it anyway.
Okay. Councillor Howells.
Thanks, Presiding Member. As alluded to earlier on, when I proposed the amendment, the Israeli Independent Group support this motion as drafted. We are going to be significantly impacted in our ward by any proposals to divert traffic around the Southern Distributor Road and more widely. We know that those areas are already significantly oversubscribed. The junction where I live, next to Morrison's, is been over its capacity for many years, and the ability to resolve those issues are quite difficult when we're in the middle of paying for the road, because we've done it on a PFI, which is over a long period of time for the Southern Distributor Road, and we can't really make any changes to that. There's also been a push from the previous Labour administration in the Senedd to prevent the building of new roads, which has sort of hampered our ability. Whilst supporting the motion, I would encourage the Cabinet in particular, but the Council generally, to think about its own transport strategy. Actually, we've got a real opportunity here to shape what we think Newport should look like, not wait to be consulted by Welsh Government about what they want to do, and then they're going to tell us that they're going to do, and we're going to have to try and oppose and bring these motions and say, we're not happy with this and we're not happy with that. Let's be proactive. Let's tell the Welsh Government what we think is right for Newport. We know what's right for Newport. We've just managed to bring an unholy alliance together, I'll coin Matthew's phrase, to tell you what we think is right for Newport. So let's work together to have a transport strategy and tell the Welsh Government what's right for our residents, rather than wait for them to try and impose something on us that we then try and object to. Thanks.
Okay, Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I'd just like to highlight the fact that the Bringlass tunnels is a major concern. The future safety of that section is coming up for maintenance with closures, and really speaking, how much longer will it be able to operate as a safe route? So while we're considering alternatives, I think the tunnels itself should be considered in all our approach to any alternatives going forward.
Councillor Fairweather.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Presiding Member. I'm more than happy to support this motion. I'm pleased that it's actually before us. But it's worth noting that it was John Griffiths who wanted to close motorway junctions, the Labour MS for Newport East, when he was there. Yes, it was John Griffiths that wanted to do that. Now, you will have a good example very shortly of how closing a motorway junction will impact on the city when they close High Cross to do the gasworks in a couple of weeks' time. And you will see where all Rogerstone and Outturn and other parts of the city where the traffic will be diverted along Basilic Road, Melbourne Way, Western Avenue. There will be absolute chaos. So I would never support shutting down motorway junctions, but we do need a relief road. And I have to say it to you, that it was Mark Drakeford's fault that we didn't get that relief road. He wasted money, he dithered, he didn't do it. They put together this Burns Commission with these active travel plans and didn't implement them properly. They'd done them the wrong way round. We should have had the infrastructure in place first, and then we could have moved then to a system of using public transport. But at the moment, we haven't got that. And it was only last week when there was and this on the radio, from Pye Corner train station, the trains were cancelled because Transport for Nobody didn't have enough trains. So, please, I don't want to see congestion in this city. My ward of Outturn will be heavily impacted. I know that you say it's about the Southern Distributor Road, but it's not. I guarantee you, as soon as Taylor Swift is there, or Ed Sheeran, we are hammered. Fields Road, the Harlequin roundabout. So I support this motion, but please, I'm glad to see now that finally you've come over to our way of thinking.
Nice one. Councillor Rheoli'r.
Finally, they have come over. The road to Damascus is a wonderful place, and they are now on it. They have actually, in the past, been very silent when it got cancelled, the relief road. They hid away in their bunkers, didn't know what to do. Oh, my word, our paymasters in Cardiff, after 27 years, have said no. What do? We were the only ones this side who were vocal. We're the only ones who campaigned on it. We're the only ones who said we want the relief road back. However, I'm not going to mention any of that in a negative way, because you've come back full circle. And the Unholy Alliance is a wonderful thing. It's great that we're all in the same bed together, and they said that politics will throw us all in one day. It's no good pulling your face, because I'm not going to sit by you, I can assure you. So there we go. We support this emotion. This emotion? I am emotion. I'm emotional about the motion. We support the motion because it makes common sense. We have been arguing this for years, and as they say, if you wait long enough, there'll not only be one bus, but 3 buses will come along. And here we are, all the parties, 3 buses, here we go. Let's have a bit more of this cooperation, but consult with us in the beginning, not at the end, because you'll get a better result for the residents of Newport. And thank you for supporting the relief road, although it's a bit too late now.
I am not getting in bed with you, all right? Right. Deb? Oh, sorry, do you want... Sorry. I didn't see a hand up, that's all.
Thank you. I'd just like to point out that climate change is scientific fact, not a matter of opinion.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. No, it isn't.
Kevin, you've interrupted people speaking twice tonight. Please don't do it. No one interrupts you.
It's a scientific fact. The air quality from electric cars is infinitely better than the fumes that you get out of petrol and diesel cars. But most of all, I just wanted to highlight and speak up for the residents of Rogerstone to say any of these motorway closures would just be very difficult for the residents of Rogerstone because they'd be blocked from going to work and going about their normal business. Thank you.
Thank you. If someone else wants to speak, so Deb.
Thank you, Presiding Member, and I'm happy to second this motion. But first of all, I just need to remind the Council that Newport Labour has consistently argued that the congestion around the M4 creates real problems for our city. We've always supported the principle of an M4 relief road because we recognise the impact that chronic congestion has on our residents, businesses and the wider Welsh economy. Our stance is unchanged, and I can quote a previous leader, Baroness Wilcox, in who July 2019 vowed to fight every way she can to secure funding for the city after the M4 relief road was scrapped, and she vehemently opposed the Welsh Government decision made at that time. And Jane Mudd shares that view, as does our current leader. And I also need to add that the whole Labour group, along with Councillor Micdad Aminami, voted in favour of those motions at that point in time when they were put through full council. So our history is well known, and we make no apology because we have been consistent on this. But today's motion is not about reopening that debate. The relief road hasn't happened. That decision has been made. What we're debating today is something very different. Proposals that could make Newport traffic problems even worse by forcing more motorway traffic off the M4 and onto our already congested local roads. Our city simply cannot become the overflow route for the motorway. Anyone who lives in Newport knows the reality. Our roads are already under pressure. Residents experience delays every day. Businesses rely on efficient transport links. Emergency services need reliable access. Additional motorway traffic would increase congestion, worsen air quality and place even greater strain on communities that already bear the burden of being the gateway into South Wales. This is neither fair nor sustainable. Whatever our views were on the Rheoli'r Road, I hope you can agree with me that Newport should not be expected to absorb the consequences of decisions that divert strategic traffic through our neighbourhoods. This motion sends a clear message to the Welsh Plaid Government as it undertakes its review. We welcome the investment in public transport, active travel and sustainable transport. We support measures that genuinely reduce congestion and improve connectivity. Our residents deserve solutions that improve connectivity, not measures that increase congestion on local roads. We just cannot support proposals that simply shift the problem from the motorway onto streets where our residents live, work and raise their families. So this motion is straightforward. It asks us to stand up for Newport, protect our communities and to make it absolutely clear that closing M4 junctions or diverting motorway traffic through our cities is unacceptable. And I urge members, I think we're all supportive on this, from all sides of the chambers to support this motion and send a united message that Newport deserves better. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Leader. Leader?
Thank you, Presiding Member. Just to say, the Senate Labour Group did make that decision, and I was very clear in the motion, Newport City Labour leaders. I was very explicit about that, because that is a fact. You might not like that, but it is Councillor Wilcox, now Baroness, Councillor Jane Mudd, and myself. And apparently, I was mocked on Newport Islam Conservatives pre-Senate election for supporting the M4 relief, and I should join the Conservatives. I've been pro-M4 relief for 15 years because I knew the wards would pay the price if that didn't go ahead. I knew that's what would happen. They would funnel that traffic through those great wards, and no one who lives in this beautiful city could tolerate that. So it's been a long-standing position by these leaders, and that's why I deliberately said that. Councillor Al-Nawami said, no hard position would someone come forward. Mr Hooper is on record after a question from Jane Bryant, MS, that would he rule out junction closures, and he's on record saying that junction closures are part of the options analysis that will be reported in the autumn. And as far as I'm aware, unless it's been a recent announcement, so I'm happy to withdraw, no consultations proposed. So I'm happy to be updated on that, but that is my current understanding. So I hope that answers your question, Councillor Al-Nawami. Councillor Howell's about being proactive. I deliberately put this motion to be proactive because I knew there was no consultation. So if we can submit this and send it to Mr Hooper, I have asked for a meeting. They've done all these plans without speaking to the city leader, and I would say that it's scandalous. They haven't spoken to whoever's in charge of this council, the leader, about major implications for this city. They should always speak to whoever the leader is about major transport infrastructure. I take his point about transport, but we're a bit of a hiatus. The Welsh Government see transport to be regionalised, but we don't know if those regions will exist. They haven't told us. They haven't told us that there'll be a budget to it, so it's all in the air about where we go. Once that becomes clearer, I'm happy to discuss with all parties about where we go forward and what we want. But I'm glad we've got there. It's the right thing to do for our residents, above party politics. We don't want congestion, we don't want ill health, and we want our communities freely moving.
When you speak, could you put the microphone there? Because I think there were some people who couldn't quite hear what you were...
Apologies, President.
Okay. Councillor Whitehead, you can't speak. What's your hand up for?
Because I'd made notes in front of me and I forgot to say something, Mr. Presiding Member. I think it's quite important.
No, it's obviously the leader has wound up.
I say this, that some people might realise the madness. What I'm going to say to you is this. You can drive to Bristol Airport.
Wait a minute, Councillor Whitehead, please. Councillor Whitehead, the leader has wound up. I understand your frustration, and you are supported for it, but you've interrupted again. Now, please, the leader has wound up, and that's the policy here.
I just had that point to make. You can pay £9 and they don't mind you foul in an area. That's my point. What a ridiculous thing to do. Pay us £9 and you can make a mission.
Councillor Whitehead, please. Please.
You can't tax your way to net zero.
Please, stop.
It's impossible.
I'm going to the vote now. I'm not going on with this anymore. We're going to go to the vote. Vote be taken, please. All those for? All those against? One against, I think. One against, I see. Any abstentions? One abstention. One abstention. Okay. Right, that's carried then. Can I make a suggestion now? I've been asked now if we can have a short break, and we'll come back now in about, I say, 20 to 7. Is that okay? They'll miss all the fun if they're outside, won't they? Right. We'll move on to item 6 now. Notice of motion, the Welsh Government review of local funding formula. Yeah. Mick, Dad, could you tell me why your hand is up still, please? Oh, well, let's move on. Right, we'll move on then. Item 6, Leader.
Yes, thank you, Presiding Member, and please tell me if I move away too much from the microphone. This motion is going under the radar, but it's nonetheless really, really important for future council in Newport and future administrations. The new Plaid government has proposed evaluating and reviewing the local government funding formula, which in itself I'm not opposed to, because there's out-of-date data in many of the data sets which needs updating. Completely accept that. And I completely accept that I believe there needs to be a permanent funding floor for more rural authorities, which happens every year, but there's always a debate about it, but it should be a permanent flooring. Again, I don't disagree with any of that. However, Plaid have been quite explicitly clear in a debate that, and I quote, that they would look at the format that better reflects the realities of serving large rural populations. And I respect that's mainly their heartlands. That's not beneficial to Newport, let's be clear, or any condensed urban area. That will not help Newport in any shape or form, whoever is in charge. And I'll give you an example. So last year we got 6.1%, which was roughly just over £20 million in RSG uplift. That's not a taking population increase, okay? That's just 20 million. If we got the average, which was 4.5%, still a nice number, that's 13.5 million we would have got, right? So we've had over £7 million less that in 1 year, okay? And that's a compounding effect. We never get that money back. So each and every year, we're always diminishing. Now, that is very serious for Newport. And I don't want to be unambiguous about that for any future administration, because as they change the formula, it will be the new administration by the May elections. Whoever forms that administration, whoever starts formulating those budgets, that is a material effect to find over £7 million per year if they do anything like that. So this motion is to get ahead of the game, start those conversations. I'm already on the finance subgroup trying to make the point about urban authorities, and just to put in context Newport's position in that is, as the fastest growing city with the fastest growing young population, anything around weighting and changings around social services and sparsity, if those weightings are changed substantially, that will not benefit Newport. You might have a view on that, you might think that's fair, but as leader of Newport City Council, my first duty is the people of Newport, and I can tell you now, you can't afford a £7 million cut in one RSG. It's not doable. And I don't say that in any partisan way. I'm being deadly serious. Everyone knows the infrastructure we have, the social services we have. It's wonderful we have a growing population, but it needs serious investment in social services, education, everything we all care about. And so we need to be upfront and be on the proactive foot to challenge this.
Davis.
Happy to second, but again, reserve my right to speak.
Okay. Anyone else? Councillor Evans.
Conservative Group are happy to support. Presiding Member.
Councillor Ariannu, you've got your hand up. Councillor Ariannu, your hand is up to speak, right?
Yeah. I'm sorry, but I feel as though we are just trying to pick fights here. It's a new government, right? Let's just think for a minute. If this was a Labour government, would we be doing this? We have to be realistic. You can look at the budget situation in the UK. You can look at the commitment, the increased commitment to defence and finding money for that, which we are committed to. Why are we doing this? I mean, there must be better ways of sitting with the Welsh Government and conveying the same message. We just seem to be picking fights with them ahead of problems. By the way, I checked on the other question that I did not get an answer to from the Leader of the Council. There are no definite proposals for the shutting of junctions of the motorway.
Point of order. This is about the previous motion. Can you please stop speaking?
Councillor Ariannu, if Councillor Ariannu, please stick to what the motion is now.
Can I please speak, or am I sitting down?
No, well, I'm telling you now, you stick to what the motion is. If you want an answer for that, you will have it in writing of the question you answered first of all, right? But stick to this motion, please.
Put your fan on.
Well, don't allow other people to interrupt me. You do that regularly. And you're failing in your duty as a presiding member.
You're straying from the main subject, Andrew. You're straying off the subject.
What's this?
Stick with the...
Councillor Whitehead, will you stop interrupting? This is about the third or fourth time. I know... please, stop. I've told him about sticking to the subject. Councillor Ariannu, continue, please, but stick to the subject.
And I'm speaking to this motion.
Right.
Okay? I think it is an attempt to pick fights with the Welsh Government at a time when it's trying to formulate its way forward. I think there must be better ways of conveying the same message about our needs to the Welsh Government. I don't think public motions like that in Council, where we are slagging them off, Leader, is the way forward. And so I will be voting against your motion. Sorry, it's not the way to get agreement with a government that actually do control our purse strings. Thank you.
Councillor Howells.
Thank you, Presiding Member. We, Liswery Independent Group, do support this motion. We are concerned. I think I talked to the same issue as part of the budget setting proposals last time around. We are concerned about the funding formula review and what that means for Newport. I won't dwell on the points the Leader has made, but I agree with all of them, as do my colleagues, and we will support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor James.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Of course, we care about the rest of Wales. No one's saying that we don't, but as Newport councillors, our first duty is for our constituents. The Greens will be voting for the motion. And by the way, we don't like picking fights, but if we have to for our constituents, we will.
Councillor Reynolds.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I think Councillor James just took one of my lines, actually. I was going to say we don't like picking fights, but I will agree with you on that. If we have to, we will. As a Newport Council, to answer Councillor Ariannu's question,
I don't want to put words in the leader's mouth. I'm sure he'll answer this himself anyway. But we're not picking fights with the Welsh Government. What we are doing is standing up for our residents. We're a Newport Council, first and foremost. And the other question was, if a Labour Government was doing this, would we take the same action? Yes. Speaking personally, yes, 100%, to look after our residents, 100%. But a Labour Government wouldn't do this. That's the point. In terms of what I wanted to say originally, and I suppose, again, this relates to the idea of picking a fight. The Plaid Government have already shown their intentions with the withdrawal of money or the withholding of monies for ALN students. We've seen that already. That's not a maybe or a possible. That's happening already. They committed in their manifesto about prioritising funding for rural areas, which, by definition, is going to disadvantage Newport. So we're not picking fights over things that haven't been said or done. You know, this is in black and white. They've already said it. They've already committed to it. And we, as a council, are not going to sit back and allow our residents to suffer because of it. And I have to say, I know it's maybe going slightly off the point. I hope you'll indulge me with this, Mr. Presiding Member. But yeah, we've recently had a Senedd election where Plaid were elected to the Senedd. Certainly when I was canvassing, a lot of the feedback I was getting on the doorstep for reasons for voting for Plaid was to stop reform. And I'm sure most people in this chamber would be very sympathetic to that ambition. Unfortunately, this is the consequences of voting a certain way, just in a tactical way, if you like. Is in the last debate we talked about the closure of junctions for Newports. That's a detriment. Now we're talking about the budget, and this is the effect of it. So it's just another little aspect to think about when people are putting their votes on the ballot paper. Think about what you're really voting for. This is the consequence. This is what's happening to Newport because directly of putting Plaid in power in Cardiff. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Druitt.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I speak in support of the motion. Plaid Cymru want to change the way money is allocated to councils, which will take money away from Newport and give it to the poor farmers in mid-Wales. This will be daylight robbery done to the people of Newport by Plaid Cymru and Cardiff. While every community in Wales deserves fair funding, the people of Newport should not be expected to pay the price for changes that will leave our city worse off. Newport could lose millions of pounds. That's why any review of local government funding formula must be based on robust evidence, complete transparency and objective analysis, not the political convenience for Plaid Cymru. Above all, Newport must not be disadvantaged. It seems to me a vote for Plaid Cymru brings you daylight robbery and less money for Newport. Newport should not become the losers in a Plaid funding review designed to solve problems elsewhere. The people of Newport deserve nothing less, and this Labour Council stands united in defending the interests of the people of the city. I support the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Druitt. The Mayor, Councillor Harvey.
Thank you, Presiding Member. The member did say that we shouldn't be picking fights. I will go and fight any man and his dog to protect the residents of Newport. Don't care who they are. Not bothered in the slightest. Don't care what party they are. If it means protecting our ALN, protecting our elderly, protecting our vulnerable, you're damn straight we're going to fight, and if they don't like it, best suck it up.
Councillor Routley.
Jeepers, jeepers, jeepers. First off, just a couple of things. I don't believe this administration, this council that's made up of many different parties here is picking a fight. We're not picking a fight. We're not having a scrap. What we're doing is laying our case firmly before we go into negotiations. That's a sensible approach. We are not picking a fight. Secondly, it's not about the Labour Council here. The Labour Council here are a number of people who are collected together. There are other members in this chamber, and it makes the council. So the Labour administration is in control, but the whole council is collectively responsible. It's not a Labour council, it's a joint council with many people in it. But we're not picking a fight. Councillor Ariannu, Councillor James, and the rest of you, we're stating our case very clear.
Thank you. There's no other person who wants to speak on it. Councillor Davis.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I think this is actually one of the most important motions the Council has ever debated, because it's about ensuring that funding Newport receives reflects the realities of the city that we serve. Newport, as the leader quite rightly states, is the fastest growing city in Wales. And we sit at the heart of South East Wales, a region that is home to around half of the Welsh population and is the economic powerhouse of our nation. With our connectivity, talent and innovation, we are driving growth, not just for Newport, but for Wales as a whole. But as you know, growth brings pressure. Our population is expanding rapidly. More young people are coming through our schools. More families are choosing to live here, and more people will be looking for jobs, homes and opportunities. And at the same time, our ageing population is placing increasing demands on social care and domiciliary services, which are among the most expensive services that Council can provide. Alongside this, Newport's world-leading semiconductor industry and related advanced manufacturing sections are expected to create around 4,000 new jobs over the next few years. That's absolutely fantastic news, but it will also attract more people to our city, increasing demand for housing, infrastructure and public services. We also know that poverty and deprivation remain significant challenges for many of our communities, and we are committed to ensuring that everyone has the opportunity to succeed. That commitment must be backed by fair, sustainable funding from Welsh Government. And that is why this review of the local government funding formula truly matters. A review is long overdue, and we welcome it. But any new formula must properly recognise the costs of supporting growing cities like Newport. It must reflect population growth, rising demand and the investment needed to sustain economic success. This is not urban versus rural Wales, which is currently a huge concern. Every community deserves fair funding, but fairness means recognising needs wherever they exist. In seconding this motion, we are seeking assurances that Newport will not be disadvantaged by any changes to the funding formula, and the Welsh Government will undertake a genuinely open, transparent and evidence-based consultation. If we want Newport and South East Wales to continue driving Wales' prosperity, then we must ensure that the funding formula supports that ambition and not hinder it. Thank you.
Thank you. Leader.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I tried to be really balanced and talked about financial figures. I say this as the Leader of the Council. You would have to find £7 million of cuts. I don't want that for any leader of any political persuasion. It's horrific. And if we don't, others have described it as a fight, a negotiation, we've got to state our case very clearly. And the motion I thought was trying to be balanced is the formula is fair, transparent and doesn't disadvantage Newport. It says, seek assurances that, and most importantly, that Newport residents are not financially disadvantaged by any changes. If all councillors can't support not protecting our residents from finance, why are you here? That's our sole purpose, is to make sure that our residents are given the best settlement they can. And if it was a Welsh Labour government, absolutely. You should see the WGA last year fighting, lots of them, Labour councils, fighting the Welsh Labour government then for more money for their councils, for more money for other councils that are even Labour controlled, because local government is at the coalface delivering for people day in, day out, social services, education, ALN, as Councillor Harvey quite rightly points out, and Councillor Reynolds. We are the delivery arm that many people rely on, and our job is to protect the people of Newport. And I think how Al-Nawami said, I'm a dereliction of duty, or something to the words of that effect. I think not backing us and not doing this would have been a dereliction of duty.
We move to the vote now. All those in favour? All those against? There's one against. I don't think there's any abstention, so it's one against and the rest are 4. Okay, thank you very much. We move on to item 7 now. The 2025/2026 Treasury Management Outturn Report.
Thank you, Presiding Member. This is to inform the Council of the Treasury activities as you outlined in financial year 25/26. The report outlines borrowing and investment activities during the year, provides an update of outlining compliance against the agreed prudential indicators, and provides an outlook for the forthcoming year and medium term. The report has already considered by Governance and Audit Committee and Cabinet, who have provided no comments for the Council's consideration. In the 25/26 financial year, the Council undertook 6 long-term loans totalling £40 million to cover our refinance requirement when interest rates dipped for a short time, as well as a further £5 million from another local authority to cover our capital programming funding requirements. The Council also took £5.1 million Salix loans, which in relation to specific energy projects where the savings generated by these schemes will cover the repayments. Despite this, by the end of March 26, the Council net borrowing was £143.3 million, a decrease from £156 million from 31st of March 2025. This is because we took out the £40 million of short-term borrowings I've outlined for cash flow purposes, which we're able to pay back in 25/26, and a number of equal instalment of principal loans were repaid in instalments over the course of that financial year. As a result of undertaking early borrowing, investments increased from £13.6 million to £27.4 million, and the authority has been able to reinvest this on a short-term basis. It's important to note that we expect the investment balances will reduce in the short term, as reserves are being used as planned and the progress of the capital programme reduces the Council's internal borrowing capacity. Of the end-year balance, £10 million continues to be held in long-term covenant bonds to ensure the Council retains its professional client status, meaning it can access better borrowing rates. The report also details our PIs and performance against them. We have complied with all of our PIs, with the exception of percentage of the Council's capital financing budget of net revenue budget. This has risen due to a technical accounting aspect associated with the indicator, as well as the 1.5 one-off contribution towards capital financing costs, which were agreed as part of the February Cabinet. Our outlook for the next few years: underlying need to borrow further as our capital programme is delivered and our reserves are used. Just to be clear, that's schools and infrastructure that the city is definitely going to need in the forthcoming years. There is a risk to remaining low borrows that could be redeemed, and there's a potential in replacing these loans it will be at a higher rate than the Council is currently paying. As anyone who watches the news, there's a huge current economic, geopolitical uncertainty which increases our risk, fuel costs, inflation, etc. Future borrowing will likely be more expensive, affecting affordability of the Council to borrow. Rates are currently higher than we have built into the 26-27 capital treasury strategy. However, the conflict in the Middle East makes the outlook for rates highly uncertain, and we'll have to undertake some work understand potential future impacts of this. Officers will monitor interest rates closely to ensure the best rates are accessed over the net borrowing, and liaison with our external Treasury advisors along with the WLJ to ensure we have maximum benefit to this Council. I ask the Council note the report on the Treasury management activities for the 25/26 financial year. Presiding Member.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? You happy to go to the vote? Yeah, move to the vote. All those in favour? Any against? None against. Okay, that's carried then. Thank you very much indeed. We move on now to item 8, the National Non-Domestic Rates Extension to the City Centre Rate Relief Scheme, 2026-2027. Leader.
Thank you, Presiding Member. The next report seeks Council approval as required by the relevant legislation provisions to extend the current Newport City Centre rate relief for a further year. The City Centre local rate relief is unique to Newport, and that's something to be proud of. The previous leader, Councillor Mudd, introduced it in April of 2022 and initially intended to operate for a 2-year period ending 31st of March 24. Since then, we've extended, and quite rightly so, to the benefit of our independent businesses in the city centre. To be clear, it's not to the benefit of national chains. There's a specific provision for that. It's for our independent businesses in the city centre, which I'm sure all of us will agree are vital for the city centre, and we all support small and medium-sized businesses in the city, and particularly in the city centre. It is a 25 reduction rate. And let's be clear, this is Newport taxpayers' money going to Welsh Government, because Welsh Government set Welsh business rates, not the Council. We are an administrative body like all councils, so this is us make a conscious decision to back our businesses and to continue to support it like the previous leader set out as well. It's an innovative scheme based on sustainability of existing business while trying to encourage new businesses, which we all agree we want to occupy vacant retail out premises in the city centre. Since its introduction in 2022, the scheme has supported more than 100 businesses each year, providing valuable additional assistance to those traders. We hope this extension has been funded from unspent resources in the previous year. I hope all councils will back our motion, our report on this to extend this. This Labour administration, I hope all political parties will come together to say we back local businesses, we back the city centre, and we all agree that 25% off is the right thing to do.
Thank you, Leader. Is there a seconder?
Yeah, I'll second. Can I reserve my right to speak?
Yeah. Okay. Any other ones to speak? Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Presiding Member. The Conservative Group will, of course, support this proposal, and the city centre businesses need and deserve all the support they can get in this cost of living crisis. Ironically, this is something you can't blame Plaid on, because the cuts were implemented by the then Welsh Government under a UK Labour government. If you'd only listened to the Welsh Conservatives call last year, I'm talking about down in the Senedd, this much needed assistance and rate relief to struggling businesses would have put them all in a better position.
Thank you, Councillor Evans. Anybody else want to speak on this subject? Councillor Fformiwla.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Member. I'm more than happy to support this great idea for the city centre, because the traders are struggling down there. And if you all get the emails that I get from them, you can see the plight that some of them are in. My concern is that as we move forward, and I will go back to the old green, because it's hugely important, that has the potential to disrupt businesses in the city centre beyond measure. It has the disruption to reduce footfall in the city centre as well. I'd like to know if there's any kind of contingency plan to help the independent traders weather that storm.
Anyone else wants to speak on this subject? Oh, sorry, Councillor Corden.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I just want to say that I'm really proud that this council is extending this rate relief for our independent businesses again this year. I speak to many independent businesses across the city centre with my colleagues, and I know this will be welcome relief. I know there are questions about footfall and about our support for the city centre, but as those of you in scrutiny a couple of weeks ago will know, footfall last year hit 21.7 million, which is brilliant. And we are so lucky to have so many wonderful independent traders in our city centre, making Newport what it is. So it's great that we can stand here today and offer them this support.
Thank you. Councillor Thomas.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I'd just like to say that I see absolutely no reason to criticise any of this council's support for private businesses. I think the figures speak for themselves. Every year the uptake of that support has grown, and I think that That supports what we know about the city centre, that the independent sector particularly has grown and increased, and we want to give all the support that we can to those businesses operating in the city centre, and of course help them to provide a richer offer to people shopping in the centre and bringing people into our centre as well. Thank you.
Councillor Rowley.
Of course we support the city centre, and of course we support every initiative that's going to make life easier, such as the reduction in rates. So that's a positive. But Leader, as Councillor Fairweather has indicated, the sword is hanging over the trader's head in Newport, and is surrounding the Old Green roundabout. They're absolutely terrified that if there is an interruption to the Old Green, because it's in such a vulnerable position, and we recognise that by offering them a further 25% to try and assist, that could actually finish them off. So we really need to develop something that's going to say, hands off the Old Green, whatever money you've got, let's reinvest that into the redevelopment of Newport. That would bring an extra 40, 45, 50 million pounds into making this city viable, safe and great again.
Thank you, Councillor Rowley. I can't see it. Was it? Yep.
Thank you, Presiding Member. So just to pick up a few things. I think, first of all, this is a massive positive for Newport. And I say Newport because I believe, I'm sure I'm right, that we're the only council in Wales who are proposing a 25% rate relief scheme for many retail and hospitality and leisure businesses in the city centre. We are the only council in Wales doing that. Us. This can only be a positive. This can only be positive for the small businesses, the independent businesses, and the footfall will benefit as well. So I think that's really, really key. Tackling a couple of the discussion points. The petition has gone to Welsh Government about the Old Green. So we're waiting to hear back on that. But I think unlike Councillor Fairweather, or to Councillor Fairweather's point, is that we didn't just get emails. We actually went out there and spoke to the businesses. It wasn't about just getting an email. This isn't about a social media post, how we came to this decision. This decision was made because we went out at 5:30, 5:45 in the morning to speak to the early morning businesses. We went to the evening business at 8, 9 o'clock in the evening. We listened to those businesses. We sat down. We listened to their concerns. We listened to their issues. We listened to what they could see as positives. So where I understand their, and we can all find negatives, and we're realistic to that, this is an absolute positive move by the businesses in Newport. We've listened to them. And, we went to the bid meetings. We sat on those bid meetings. We sat and listened to the board. And this is something which kept coming up and up, but it has cost. This isn't a figure of just a 2-minute conversation of agenda point number 8. This is something which we've debated, we've thought about, because this is coming from taxpayers' money. But this is the best thing for Newport. And as I said, we are the only council in Wales doing this. So finally, I'd like to say a massive thank you, not to social media posts on this, not to emails. I'd like to thank Nikki. I'd like to thank Tracy. I'd like to thank Dean. I'd like to thank Jack. I'd like to thank every board member of the bid and every other business that we went out and saw. And this is for them. This is for them and supporting them. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. Oh, yeah.
It's not a motion. Is it, Presiding Member? So it's...
Oh, I thought you wanted to... No, I just thought you wanted to sum up, that's all. No, okay. Right, we move to the vote then. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? Right, I think that's carried then. Thank you. We move on now to item 9, Welsh Language Annual Report. Councillor Hughes.
Thank you, President Member. If you can bear with me, I'm going to read the first section of the report out in Welsh in its entirety, and then I'll come through as it's a Welsh report and translate as it is in English, which seems appropriate for this report. You'll know I've read some sections of reports out previously in the Welsh language as Welsh champion. It's the first time I've been able to read a report in its entirety in the Welsh language as a cabinet member. I think it's actually the first time it's been done in a number of generations as well. So I hope personally that it gives younger councillors coming through on all sides of the party, as they come through over years to come, the confidence to speak in the language of their choice. Thank you. Not all 24 pages, no, you'll be happy to know. I have abbreviated it. Well pointed out. Noswaith a cyfeillion. Rwy'n hapus I rannu'r adroddiad hwn gyda cydweithwyr heddiw. Yn dilyn gweithredu safonau'r Cymraeg y Cyngor ym mis Mawrth 2016, mae gan y Cyngor dyletswydd statudol I lunio'r adroddiad monitro blynyddol a gydymffurfio ar safonau'r Cymraeg o dan fesur y Cymraeg Cymru 2011. Mae'r adroddiad blynyddol hwn yn cynrychioli degfed flwyddyn y Cyngor o weithredu safonau'r Cymraeg ac yn unol a gofyn statudol. Mae'n rhoi trosolwg o genydd y Cyngor o'r rhan bodlodi'r safonau yn ystod y flwyddyn ariannol a ddaeth I ben ym mis Mawrth 2026. Mae'r adroddiad yn cynnwys gwybodaeth perfformiad allweddol sy'n oddonol gan y Gomisiynydd y Gymraeg i'w chyhoeddi'n blynyddol, yn tynnu sylw at gyflawniadau sylweddol yn ystod y flwyddyn ac yn nodi y meysydd blaenoriaeth ar gyfer gwaith yn y dyfodol. Cyhoeddwyd yr adroddiad drafft ar len erbyn y dyddiad cau, sef y 30 o Mehefin 2026, I fodloni y Cofnodion I statudol a bydd yn gael ei ddiweddaru yn unwaith ar ôl y Cyngor llawn gytuno arno. Ymysg yr uchafbwyntiau'r flwyddyn, mae'r menter Cymraeg gwaith, mae'r dosbarthiadau wedi parhau i redeg yn chwyddiannus gyda 15 aelodau o staff yn gymeryd ran a phob un yn pasio. Ar arholiad lefel mynediad, a roedd hefyd yn anrhedydd I mi fynychu gwobrau Cymraeg I oedolion Gwent, ochr yn ochr i'r dysgwyr, lle ddibyniodd Cyngor Dinas Casnewydd Wobr Cymraeg gwaith am arweiniaeth barhaus datblygiad dysgwyr a defnydd amferol o'r Gymraeg yn gwenlle llongyfarchiadau I pawb cymerodd rhan. Mae'n pwysig hefyd sylwedd lanswydd y rwydwaith staff newydd gan darparu platfform I siaradwyr dysgwyr a staff Cymraeg. Hefyd daeth gwasanaeth cyfieithu mewnol newydd yn weithrodol gan ymdrin a dros 200 o gesiadau cyfieithu yn ei gyfnod cychwynnol a gan lehau dibyniaeth ar darparwyr llonnol ar chryfhau ein sefydliadau yng Cyngor. Mae'r adroddiad hefyd yn nodi blaenoriaethau ar gyfer y cyfnod adrodd nesaf gan gynnwys gweithio gyda awdurdodau lleol eraill ar draws Gwent I adeiladau momentum I baratoi ar gyfer croesawu'r Eisteddfod yr Urdd Bro Weninen Gwent yn 2027 blwyddyn nesaf I Gasnewydd a troi gyntaf erioed i'r Eisteddfod yr Urdd gael ei chynnal yn y ddinas mewn bron 100 mlynedd yn ein hanes. Mae rôl y cynghorwydd John Harris, Hyrwydwyr etholiad y Gymraeg, wedi bod yn allweddol wrth dynnu sylwi at bwysigrwydd y Gymraeg ar draws y ddinas eu defnydd o fewn cyngor ar yr un pryd. Diolch i chi, Cynghorwydd Harris, rwy'n edrych ymlaen at weithio gyda chi a sicrhau bod cas newydd yn ddinas lle gall pawb weld, clywed, dysgu, defnyddio a charu'r iaith Cymraeg. Rwy'n gofyn i'r aelodau gymeradwyo'r papur sydd wedi atodi a'i gyhoeddi ar wefan y cyngor fel bod y cyngor parhau i gydymffurfio'r ar safonau statudol. Diolch yn fawr. Thank you. What I've done now is actually switch myself off. So. Yeah, you'd be happy to hear. Yeah, absolutely. Can I pinch your papers a second? I've just knocked myself off. Unless you don't particularly want the English version, I'm sure that's not the case. I'm happy to share this report with colleagues today. Following the implementation of the Council's Welsh language standards in March 2016, the Council has had a statutory duty to produce an annual monitoring report on compliance with the Welsh language standards under the Welsh Language Wales Measures 2011. This annual report represents the Council's 10th year of implementing the Welsh language standards, and in compliance with the statutory requirements provides an overview of the Council's progress in meeting the standards during the financial year ending March 2026. The report includes key performance information required by the Welsh Language Commissioner to be published annually, highlights significant achievements during the year, and identifies priority areas for future work. The draft report was published online by the deadline date of 30th of June 2026 to meet statutory requirements and will be updated immediately once agreed by full Council. So the key highlights from the year include Cymraeg Gwaith Initiative. Classes have continued to run successfully with 15 staff sitting and all passing the entry-level examination. I was also very honoured to attend the Welsh for Adults Gwent Awards alongside our learners, where Newport City Council received the Work Welsh Award for sustained leadership, learner development and the practical use of Welsh in the workplace. A genuine congratulations to everyone involved. The Welsh Language Staff Network, a new staff network, was launched, providing a platform for Welsh speakers, learners and wider staff to support the promotion and use of the Welsh language across the organisation through a range of activities, campaigns and events. The Internal Translation Service, a new internal translation service, became operational, handing over 200 translation requests in its initial period, reducing reliance on external providers and strengthening compliance with standards. The report also identifies priorities for the next report period, including working with other local Welsh authorities in Gwent to build momentum in preparation for welcoming the Eisteddfod, Rhyddhad and Gwent in 2027, next year, to Newport. The first time the Eisteddfod has ever been held in the city in nearly its 100-year history. The role of Councillor John Harris, the elected member for Welsh Language Champion, has been instrumental in highlighting the importance of the Welsh language across the city while actively promoting the use of Welsh within the Council. Diolch i chi, Cynghorydd Harris. Rwy'n edrych ymlaen i weithio gyda chi a sicrhau bob cas newydd yn dinas lle ddall bawb gweld, clywed, dysgu a defnyddio iaith Cymraeg. I'm looking forward to working with Councillor Harris to make sure that Newport is a city that we can actively promote, where people can see, hear, learn and use and love the Welsh language. So I ask members finally to approve the attached paper and publish on the Council's website so that the Council remains compliant with its statutory obligations. Diolch yn fawr. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a seconder to that, please? Thank you. Do you want to speak on it?
That you said the Eisteddfod hadn't been held in Newport for over 100 years. The Eisteddfod. Oh, rather different. The National Eisteddfod. I remember the National Eisteddfod had been here in the 80s. Happy to support it.
Okay. Anyone else want to speak on this? Not many brave people in there, is there? Right, thank you, Councillor Hughes. Right, can we move to the vote then, please? Oh, sorry, there's no vote for this one, is there? Oh, there is, sorry. Vote. 4, please. Any against? I thought there's no abstention, so that's carried. Thank you very much indeed. We move on now to the item 10, the Scrutiny Annual Report, presented by Councillor Rheoli'r.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. I'm pleased to present the 2025-26 Scrutiny Annual Report to the Council. Scrutiny was introduced by the Local Government Act 2000, creating separate cabinet and scrutiny functions in local authorities. The Act requires scrutiny to report annually to the Council on their work that it has carried out in the past 12 months. Since the introduction of the Wellbeing of Future Generations Act, scrutiny also has a statutory role to scrutinise the work of the public service boards. The underlying principle of scrutiny is to ensure that decision-making processes within the local authority are open, accountable and transparent. In Newport, scrutiny consists of 4 committees, overview and scrutiny, of which I am the chair, and 3 performance scrutiny committees, partnership, people and places and corporate. The report looks at the work of the scrutiny committees from May 25 to April 26. The annual report is an essential tool for measuring the performance of scrutiny, evaluating the process within and against previous targets and setting priorities for the coming year. This year's report includes a review of the scrutiny self-assessment which took place in 2025, as well as a summary report from Audit Wales on Newport scrutiny arrangements. I look forward to chairing the Overview and Scrutiny Management Committee for the remainder of the municipal year, working alongside committee members to ensure we provide an objective and productive challenge to the decisions of the local authority. I would like to take the opportunity to thank my scrutiny colleagues and cabinet members, officers and the local authority and partners for their continuing support. I ask that the Council notes the Scrutiny Annual Report 25-26 and endorses the actions set out within the report. Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer.
Thank you. Councillor Ripley.
I'm happy to be formally seconded, Presiding Member.
Right, thank you. I don't think anyone wants to speak on it. I can't see anyone. Right, can we move to the vote then? All those in favour? Any against? No abstentions. That's carried then. Okay, thank you very much indeed. We move now to item 11, schedule for remuneration for councillors, presented by Councillor Corton.
Thank you, Presiding Member. This report sets out the members' scheme of allowances for 26-27 as set out in the annual report of the Democracy and Boundary Commission Cymru, the DBCC. The Council is required to adopt and publish a scheme of allowances for members for the current municipal year based on the salaries prescribed by the DBCC. The DBCC published its first annual report in February of this year, and the Council is required to formally adopt these recommendations and approve the allowances for 2026-27. Salaries are fixed by the DBCC, and therefore there is no discretion in this allowance. The increase in basic salaries will take effect from the 1st of April 2026, and backdated payments will be made to members. I ask that this Council approve the revised scheme of allowances for 26-27 and agree for it to be published under the Council's consultation.
Thank you. Councillor Fowler.
Yes, happily to formally second that report.
Okay, thank you. Anyone wants to speak on that? Right, we move to the vote be taken then, please. All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? 3 abstentions. Sorry? I can only count 3. Oh, 1 online, sorry, yeah, you're right. 4 abstentions. Okay, so The motion is carried. Thank you very much, Councillor Corton. Right, we move on now to the final report on the community boundary and electoral arrangements review. Again, Councillor Corton.
Thank you. Sorry, everyone. Thank you, Presiding Member. I'm pleased to present this report on the review of community boundary and electoral arrangements. The Council has a statutory responsibility to monitor community boundaries and community electoral arrangements and to undertake reviews where appropriate. The purpose of this review has been to ensure that our community arrangements remain up to date, reflect local identities and support effective and convenient local government across the city. The review has followed the statutory process and the terms of reference agreed by the Council. It has included initial publicity, consultation on draft proposals, engagement with statutory consultees and the wider public, and detailed consideration of the representations received. I would like to thank the members of the Task and Finish Group, officers, community councils, elected members, statutory consultees and residents who have contributed to the process. The final recommendations before Council today seek to address identified anomalies, improve clarity in community boundary lines, ensure that boundaries follow logical and identifiable features wherever possible, and support coherent community arrangements. They also include changes to electoral arrangements for a number of community councils in line with the previously agreed council size policy. The proposed changes are set out in detail in the report. It is important to emphasise that this review is concerned with community boundaries and community electoral arrangements. It does not determine parliamentary or Senedd constituencies, school catchment areas, service delivery areas or political outcomes. Whilst there may be some minor changes to this council's ward boundaries, as set out in the report, a review of those boundaries was not the primary aim of the exercise. The recommendations have been developed by reference to the statutory criteria and the evidence available through the consultation process. If Council approves the recommendations, the final report will be submitted to the Democracy and Boundary Commission Cymru. The Commission will then consider the Council's recommendations and determine the appropriate next steps in accordance with the statutory framework. I therefore move the recommendations as set out in this report.
Thank you very much. Councillor Fairweather.
Yes, happy to support.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone wants to raise any? Councillor Locklands.
Thank you, Chair. Presiding Member. Page 173. There's a couple of graphs on there which are incorrect. One is, when I can get it back up. It says community areas, Peterstone and St Brides. It's the last one on page 173, yet it refers to a different area. Can't move it up. It looks as though my laptop has died. One, it says St Brides, and another one, can't remember what it was now, and it says it's in Graig Ward, which is not. And the one before it, I think it says it's in the Llanwern area, which it's not. It's in the Marshfield area. So I'd like those to be amended if I could, please. Okay.
So with those amendments which you're happy to take back and sort out, then, yeah. So we move to the vote then. All those in favour, please. All those against? There's no abstentions, I can't see, so that's carried. Thank you very much. Right, item 13, Councillor Corton again. Good night tonight, you are.
Triple bill.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, it's the recruitment of independent lay members on the Standards Committee.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Chair, I'm pleased to introduce this report which seeks Council's approval for the appointment of 2 independent lay members to the Standards Committee. The Standards Committee plays a vital role in supporting high standards of conduct across the Council and in maintaining public confidence in our democratic arrangements. Independent lay members are central to that role, bringing in an impartial external perspective and helping to ensure that the committee can discharge its responsibilities effectively. Following a recruitment process carried out in accordance with the statutory requirements for standards committees in Wales, as set out in more detail in the report, the recruitment panel has considered applications, shortlisted candidates and conducted interviews. The panel is satisfied that the 2 candidates recommended in the report meet the requirements of the role and are suitable for the appointment. The recommendation before Council is to appoint Mr Lee Cummins and Mr Martin Rheoli'r as independent lay members of the Standards Committee for a 4-year term from 1st of September 2026. This will help ensure the committee remains properly constituted, resilient and able to continue its important work. I propose that the Council resolves to adopt the recommendation set out in the report and approve the appointments. Thanks.
Yes, I'm happy to support.
All those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? That's carried. Thank you very much. Right, we move on now to item 14, questions to the Leader. Announcements, Leader.
Thank you, Presiding Member. A few announcements. The UK Government announced a Pride in Place, which is £20 million for the city of Newport, focused on the wards of Stow Hill, Victoria and Pill. City Centre, basically wards. To support those wards, it's a £20 million programme over 10 years. I'm delighted to say we've appointed a chair called Rusna Begum, Chief Executive of the award-winning Kids Care for You. We're in the midst of pulling the board, the wider board with the new chair. I think we need completed all those interviews and appointments which will be announced, drawing from the wide range of community of those diverse communities, which is really good to see. We look forward to working with those as they develop their plan to spend that money to the benefit of those areas and for those residents. I'm delighted to say about the No One Left Behind introduced by myself and this cabinet and this group. That's £500,000 for wards on the WIMD index. The first ward was Dyffryn, and I'm delighted to say that 16 new community projects in that ward will be funded through the council's No One Left Behind, developed with the community, providing a range of opportunities for people of all ages, focusing on skills, well-being, education, sport. As far as I'm aware, no other council does this. That's a hell of a commitment on a revenue commitment. The next ward I was announced in the budget is the Great Ward of Bettis. That will get £500,000. Again, we work with local councillors and the local community to develop those grassroots community projects that will be delivered by the community, honed by the community, and we look forward to awarding further resources to other wards, as indicated by the WIMD index, to support those community groups. Delighted to say that on green flags, we're celebrating achievement of 8 sites retaining the green flag status. As many of you know, our parks are critical for well-being, for everyone to enjoy, and to get 8 sites of green flag status. It's a nationally recognised ward, and Bellevue Park continues to lead the way, securing its 19th Green Flag Award since receiving the accolade in 2008. It's fantastic for that achievement, as well as Beechwood Park. I know Councillor Pym and Councillor Spencer, Councillor Davis really bang the champions for Beechwood Park, and it's great to have that green flag status, as well as Treasury Park, which I know was the splash park, brings much joy to many families across the city that I'm sure we all access. It's really important to acknowledge that this extends beyond council-managed sites, and these are sites led by community councils, including Bistrian Village Pond, Liswerry Pond, who've done a great job. I know councillors are champions. Pill Unity Gardens allotment, the Glade Community Garden, and Underwood Memorial Garden. Well done to all of them and to those communities who have championed those spaces for their communities. Fly tipping, which I know is a hot topic. We've achieved another milestone. Fly tipping incidents are down 11.1% during 25-26. This is the second year of fly tipping down. The figure demonstrates the success of the waste enforcement team after much investment. more cameras, more officers. During the 25-26, officers have issued more 1,000 warning letters, 500 notices, 276 fixed penalty notices, and secured 23 successful prosecutions. I can assure you we approach zero tolerance approach to fly tipping. The council as well has an abandoned shopping trolley. I know members of Llywodraeth ward are big champions of that as well, as the Reens and many wards are blighted by shopping trolleys. This reflects the campaigns of enforcement teams, residents and local communities and local councils working together to tackle this scourge. As I was saying though, as the council puts more and more effort and more resource, we have to acknowledge that we need the community on board with us, telling us who's doing it. They see those residents, they see people as well dropping those fly tipping. We need that local intelligence with us to get those fixed penalty notices out and really tackle this issue. Road resurfacing programme. Thank you to all those who voted for the budget to get those through. Over the summer, we've seen 15 more roads done. We need to do a lot more. I know we're catching up. I know a lot of roads need to be done that even on the list. I recognise that. We need to find more money. Hence the local government formula was such an important vote, because that's basically more money for roads to be resurfaced that all our wards demand and want, and quite rightly so. This is a record investment of over £20 million. I've announced community grants and sports funding. This is additional to the £500,000 for local grassroots community groups. So this is £250,000 for community grants, which all communities benefit from, and we were releasing the link so everyone can apply. And another £250 to be released for our grassroots sporting clubs that cover all ages. As many of you have highlighted to me, it's our grassroots that drive the change, isn't it? And we need to support them with those grants. So it's well done to all of them. We've helped Shaftesbury Park for Riverside Rovers, Newport Valkyries, as well as reinstatement works across many pitches and grassroots clubs. Lastly, Presiding Member, be pleased to know, we want to encourage all members of our residents to look at the amazing activities, the summer activities supported by the council and others. Get out there. There's lots of activities across the city. You can take your family, your children, across, including a Newport Medieval Ship Summer Fair, the Splash in the Port, our youth service, the beach, and much more. Outdoor cinema, live music in our parks, which I know Councillor Pym and others are really champions, which the council funds. Get out there, there's lots to do.
Thank you, Leader. Right, we move on to questions now. Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Presiding Member. I think most people would agree that the Newport Indoor Market is a popular visitor destination and successful. So it is surprising that the Council hasn't received any profit share that I'm aware of. Back in March of this year, you told me that the £6 million loan, due to have been paid in full by the end of February, hadn't been paid. You told Council that you were unable to comment further due to commercial sensitivities. Again, surprising when you talk about openness and transparency. Ultimately, this is not your money or my money. It is the taxpayers of Newport's money, and they deserve to be told what has happened to it. So can you confirm the exact amount of money outstanding and what action you have taken to ensure we get our money back in full?
Thank you, Councillor Evans, for that question. The loan, which remains at £6 million plus interest, has not yet been repaid. The developer is engaged with the council, and the discussions are continuing to engage with our officers to discuss with the provider about the repayment and loan and the interest of the market provided by the council. Quite right, it's taxpayers' money. It's important we continue those discussions. I'm surprised that Councillor Evans doesn't think commercial sensitivities exist. I presume that if the Conservatives try to take over administration, his message to the businesses who try to deal with this council is, we don't believe in commercial sensitivity.
Can I thank the Leader of the Council for what I consider to be a very poor response to our money. You've just admitted that we've no further on than we were previously, but £6 million is outstanding to this people. I remember when this was first announced, while welcoming it, we did have raised concerns on this side of the council chamber that he didn't go to competitive tender and the lease was for 250 years. And of course, this isn't the first time the Labour Council has done this. You've given the Friars Walk developers millions of pounds as well. You've had months to consider this, what action needs to be taken before the February deadline. You were happy recently to announce in the Cabinet that the underspend of £800,000 of what you wish to spend that money on. If we take this £8 million, sorry, just to clarify, you announced additional funding about £800,000 in the Cabinet last week. So I'm just trying to put in perspective what the £6 million could have done. The National Non-Domestic Rate Release Scheme could have been extended for another 4 years for less than £2 million. We could have had free parking initiatives, which would have given a real boost to traders. So essentially, there's a lot of actual money that could have been spent on. So are you going to apologise to the residents and repossess the market?
Thank you, Councillor Evans, for that question. It's very clear if the Conservatives are in charge, there would be no Newport market. They don't believe in commercial sensitivity, which no commercial operator would do so.
A point of clarification. The market has existed. We supported the market. We invested in the market. So I'm not going to take this responsibility.
Sensitivity, and there's no commercial operator that doesn't operate with commercial sensitivities. Every council, it's not unique to Newport, every local authority has to have that engagement with private business, and certain information has to be confidential. That is basics. I expect Councillor Evans to know that, given his long-standing nature. His clear message to businesses: if I'm in charge, I'll tell everyone in the whole world all their commercial business. Therefore, there would be no more Newport market.
Sorry, more clarification from this. This is clearly a case. This money should have been paid back by the very latest last February. At the moment we're standing here at the end of July, we have £6 million overdue.
This is not
This is not commercial sensitivity. This is about open and transparency and us getting our money back.
If I can intervene here, I think the leader did say the negotiations are ongoing. So I think we need to see what happens to the from that. Let's move on then, please. Councillor Fellwether.
Thank you. This one's easier. Okay, thank you, Presiding Member. The police have recently increased patrols in the city centre, and made a number of arrests. This is very welcome news for traders, shoppers and businesses in the city centre, and will help the general public feel safe when using the city centre. Therefore, can the leader assure me that he is actively supporting and encouraging this activity from the police and this robust approach from the police? And will he continue to do that, and just not let it fizzle out, allowing the mob once again to rule our city centre? What action will he be taking to ensure that police carry on with this proactive stance, and how does he plan to support it? And I know that you've probably answered that earlier on with the police anyway, so if you say yes or no, I'll just move to supplementary.
As he quite rightly says, I've asked the Superintendent Jones that question because I don't want it to fizzle out. We want a constant presence, and he offered us that reassurance.
Back.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Presiding Member. Yeah, constant presence is really important, and I'm just wondering whether there's any possibility that the council could allow the police to have a shop or a place in the market where they could place a police officer every single day to give the traders the assurance that the police are present, they've got somewhere to go, and some action can be taken. Because as I said earlier, when they're arresting people and they're taking them up the valleys, they're gone for an hour and a half each time. And I don't know whether it's in your gift that you can do that, but I think it's worthwhile thinking about some kind of shop front or place in the market where the police can operate from.
Thank you, Councillor Fairweather. We're having daily discussions with the police about what more we can do as a local authority as well to help them in their activities. And if the police request a space, I don't believe they have, but if they request a space, we will actively work with them to see how we could do that and how it could be resourced. I haven't heard of the police requesting that space, but if they do, we're more than happy to have those conversations.
Next question is, Councillor, I think this follows on really from what the last questions is as well. I'm not saying you can't say it, but I'm just saying it's very similar, that's all.
It's a very similar theme with, I think, a different outcome, if you excuse me when I lift this a second. Following the devastating closure of Marks and Spencer's, their spokesperson said serious ongoing theft, antisocial behaviour and the failure to stop repeat offenders meant they had to go, warning that more businesses will close without urgent action. With such a damning verdict from one of the major flagship stores, does the administration accept it has failed in its basic duty to protect local trade? And what immediate, tangible actions are you taking to show that you have not given up on the safety and viability of our city centre?
Let me start with the tangibles around supporting the city centre. 25% business rates discount, that's pretty tangible, the only one in Wales to do that. Significant investment, over £500,000 in our CCTV, which needed a lot of upgrading and fixing, which businesses demanded, quite rightly, to help the police identify perpetrators in a timely manner. I note the Newport Conservatives voted against the budget that made money available for CCTV. There's no point shaking hands, you did. You voted against that measure. So, you know, we're doing massive amounts. We also put more community wardens into the city centre. Again, the Newport Conservatives voted against the budget. You're saying no, you voted against the budget, which made the money available. So we put business rates 25%, more of our community wardens in, and we put £500,000 so far in our CCTV, two of which the Newport Conservatives had voted against. On the spokesperson, I'm not quite sure we got spokesperson from, because the spokespeople we spoke to, which was both the Chief Executive and I, and the Cabinet Members of Business and Deputy Leader, were categorical, because we asked them, because that's what traders were saying to us generally, is it a real reason of antisocial behaviour and theft? And they went, no. I think what Council is referring to, and please correct me, because I couldn't find the official spokesperson, is a person who worked for M&S who was at the bid meeting said she felt it was around ASB. I was at the meeting, she did say that, but when we spoke to management, because we were very conscious of that, they said no, and indeed we could explicitly tell the public it was not that, and that if you read the latest information from M&S nationally, it's a national trend. Indeed, there was a Channel 4 documentary from about M&S, actually about London, that ASB and stealing was rife across the country and was a national trend, not just in Newport, but everywhere.
Thank you for your reply. Therefore, I hear that you asked the police to commit to further patrols, further policing of the city centre beyond the 6 weeks. And you've already asked for that. But let me help you, because I really want to help, because this is our city and these are our people. Therefore, will your administration commit today to implementing and funding a robust, tightly drafted public spaces protection order backed by a consistent daily presence of dedicated council enforcement officers, thereby offering a permanent crackdown to assist and work with the police 24/7, 365 days a year, offering zero tolerance and providing a framework to protect the safety and viability of our Newport traders and citizens. Would you commit to actually doing that for us?
If you pleased, Councillor Routley, is that we're ahead of him. We've already got a PSPO for the city centre. We already have daily interaction with the police, which you heard from the police themselves, which is a daily action force with local authority. I think the police, Superintendent Jones, actively said there was a real partnership between the local authority and the police that was having real dividends. So we're already doing it. And I join him in saying this is a zero-tolerance approach, because you're quite right. And we all agree that you should walk in the city centre, indeed anywhere across the city, and feel safe as much as humanly possible. And we totally agree with that. We have the PSBO. We're investing in the CCTV. We have the daily interaction with the police. There's Operation Krypton. We've put more money into community wardens. And we're doing as much as we can, and I can commit, the only thing I can control, is the council will be unrelenting in our commitment to the city centre, and I've sought that assurance in front of everyone and the public. I hope the police will commit to that as well.
Right, we move on now to item 15, questions to Cabinet members. The first one is from Councillor Routley to Councillor Hughes.
Thank you, Cabinet Member. Cabinet Member, the recent announcement that the local authority must find £300,000 simply to restore CCTV coverage in the city centre is a stark indictment of views of systematic underfunding and operational neglect. It is highly concerning that broken cameras have been left blind due to a total lack of routine maintenance. Furthermore, successive budget cuts have severely eroded our control room capabilities, leaving a skeleton staff expected to monitor live feeds while simultaneously handling out-of-hour council telephone lines. Could the Cabinet Member provide a direct and clear answer to the following? Was any formal risk assessment carried out regarding the potential impact on retail crime, street safety, antisocial behaviour before these monitoring hours were reduced and vital budgets were stripped back?
Thank you, Councillor Routley. It's a very easy answer, really. The Council has not reduced CCTV staffing over time, and Newport continues to operate a 24/7 CCTV surveillance service with operators monitoring a network of public realm cameras, supporting the police, businesses and partners with live incidences, evidence requests and city centre safety. The service is delivered through a dedicated control room with trained and vetted operators, and the current network includes approximately 70 public realm cameras. The CCTV system has, however, required investment, which is exactly what we're doing now. Capital investment of approaching £450,000 and modernisation. This has contributed to maintenance pressures, the age of the CCTV. These are systems that need updating in time. I'd like to remind the Councillor that over austerity, the City lost over £100 million worth of funding. So, you know, updating things has been pretty difficult across the board. The position has now been recognised and addressed, as I said, and Cabinet has agreed capital investment to modernise the CCTV platform, replace ageing core equipment, improve resilience, and provide future camera and technology upgrades. This is a clear investment in the service and not a reduction. Thank you.
Thank you, Presiding Member. The system has been run down over the years. Cameras have been not fixed. So you're shaking your head because the evidence is out there. Cameras have not been fixed. Workforce have been cut back. If you go back, workforce has been cut back. You failed to answer the prime question because you diverted money from this and placed it somewhere else. And I'll ask you the question again, and I'll make it simple. It's either yes or no. Will you publish any formal risk assessment that you carried out regarding the potential impact on retail crime, street safety, antisocial behaviour before these monitoring hours were reduced and vital maintenance budgets were stripped back? Did you undertake any? Yes or no?
Councillor, we're constantly looking at our systems, but I'm going to refer you back to one very simple fact, that the Council has not reduced CCTV staffing over time. These upgrades now are required because our infrastructure has become older, and they will fail as they become older, and we're upgrading it. I'd just like to remind you as well, I think it's really important to say that we've been talking a lot today about police investment. We've been talking a lot about the things that are going wrong in cities. But in 2014, we had over 245,000 police officers. By the time austerity finished, well, 4 years into austerity, those figures were down 46,000. You know, this hasn't just happened overnight. This has been as a direct impact of cutting back in austerity, cutting back numbers in austerity, and this is where we were at. So we have, you know, we are actually doing something about it now. That's the big difference. So once that becomes available, we are doing what we need to do. And what we are doing actually is upgrading a system and making it much better and much safer for the people of Newport, and making sure that that stays modern enough to adapt as we move forward. Thank you.
Can I have a point of clarification? No, I need to have it clarified in my head. Thanks for the history, so we can go back and back and back in time. I'm sure it was Margaret Thatcher.
Listen, but Bill, can I suggest, right, that you put it in writing to the cabinet member and have an answer back, and if members want, if all members want to see it, sorry.
I don't think he'll give them because they never undertook.
Well, you don't know that, do you? If
yeah,
they request
he would have answered.
No. Okay, move on. Right, let's move on, please. Councillor Fairweather to Councillor Hughes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Presiding Member. Just a quick one, Councillor. Yes or no will do. Does the Cabinet Member feel that Newport Council are providing a good service for Welsh speakers living within the authority boundary? Yes or no?
It's going to be a difficult one to give you a yes or no, but I'll slimline it down because I appreciate what you're saying. We will always be able to do better, but certainly in the 10 years that I've been in council, we've done some remarkable work, and long may that continue. And I think, from a personal experience as a Welsh speaker in the city, I'm very, very proud of what the city's achieved over the last 10 years. Even in this building, where I would have come here 10 years ago and probably spoken Welsh once every 2 or 3 months, where now I come in here every week and speak Welsh, and that's how we're changing.
Just a quick one, it won't be too long. Recent data published on the Council's website shows a grand total of 34 telephone calls were made to the direct line for Welsh speakers for Jan to March. 17 of those calls were abandoned or discontinued. Does that show that we don't have enough resource within that service of answering the telephone to be able to meet the requirements of Welsh speakers?
Not necessarily, yeah, absolutely, because I think we're in a position where lots of calls fail for lots of different reasons, and that's the reality of it. What I will say from personal experience now, I had to phone the help desk myself on a private issue a week ago, and straight away I was offered that service in Welsh. That is, for me personally, that was unheard of, and a very complex issue, and the workers are able to deal with it. So there will be issues why calls don't get through, but I'm really confident that in the majority of cases, things are changing quite dramatically in Newport. And if you'd listened to some of the conversations we had earlier, that's exactly what all these conversations are about. It's about our staff training up to speak Welsh. And, being able to go to awards, Gwent Awards and national awards, where our staff are winning those awards for the commitment to learning Welsh language, I think is something we should be very, very proud of.
Okay, we'll move on now to Councillor Evans.
Thank you, Presiding Member. You'll be pleased to know this is the last question of the night, and I know Councillor Spencer has been waiting all evening for this question with anticipation, and it's a nice short one as well. Can the Cabinet Member please tell us how many staff are employed in the pest control service we provide, and how much profit did we make in the last year?
Thank you, Presiding Member. Councillor Evans. The pest control service currently employs 3 members of staff. It was rolled out partway through last year. Establishment costs meant that no profit was made in the first year. This is the first full year of operation following implementation, and the service is expected to generate a profit of approximately £22,500.
Thank you for that, Cabinet Member. I was hoping we'd be slightly more ambitious in those targets. We see private companies successfully running operations and making plenty of money. Just a few potential suggestions. If we are providing a service, perhaps we need to tell people. Newport Matters, for instance, a great idea. Free advertising. It would be nice to perhaps see us advertising our services, because at the moment there's a huge demand. Well, not in this month's, and you see the... No, so I'm just merely saying it's not in this month's and it's free. So I'm hoping that, you know, don't get me wrong, there's lots of positive reviews I've heard about it, but I'm hoping we can expand it and make a profit so that other services can benefit. Do you agree?
Okay, yeah, thanks for your supplementary. Yes, I do agree. However, as my colleagues have said, it has been in Newport Matters before, maybe not this one, but if we advertised everything service we produce in Newport Matters, it would be as big as the Argus and a waste of space. No, you are right. It is an ambitious project, and hopefully, with the profit we intend to make this year, that we can look at it and expand it further.
We could do some pest control in here, couldn't we? And we'd make a bit of money in here, I think. Right, okay, well thanks for the meeting this evening. The date of the next council meeting is the 29th September 2026. Have a good summer. It's already here, isn't it? Have a good summer and see you all in September. Thank you very much indeed. Bye-bye.